If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description. Additionally, if you would like to request novels and access my Google Drive where I have 200 plus audiobooks, then you can join my Patreon. Link is also provided in the description.
Chapter 1, Hardcore Beginning. Calm, without moving as still as the future economy of this country. Yet, probably, as it had become so cliché, even though he was transformed into a certain character in a famous story, he was so calm that he just stayed in silence in the class, without moving when he should have been screaming like normal people did when they experienced his experience. Ishigami-yu. In a twist of fate, he found himself thrust into the role of this character right in the middle of a class. Surrounded by unfamiliar faces in a new environment, or rather in the new world, he had to be calm without attracting anyone so no one could tell that he wasn't the original Ishigami-yu. If he had to explain his situation, he would have been like someone who couldn't swim yet, having been thrown into the stormy Pacific Ocean and told to learn to swim there. Fortunately, there was a system that explained what was happening. He also had the memory of Ishigami-yu, and, lastly, he had read millions of reincarnation stories, so he was quite a veteran of this genre. Yet, even as a veteran reader, he had to say, it felt so complex when such a situation suddenly happened to him. In the beginning, he thought that everything was a dream and he was thinking of doing something crazy, such as jumping out of the window, but fortunately, the system appeared and told him what he had to do in this world and what kind of support it would give him. His mission in this world was simple, to date a girl. That's it. Naturally, the girls he dated had to be among the heroines in the story, and it couldn't be an extra whose name wasn't even named or whose face on the anime wasn't even drawn properly. The heroines had to be part of the story, even though they didn't have much of a scene in the story itself. It was quite simple, he thought. After all, what he needed to do was just date a girl. Even Ishigami-yu had a stigma for being a stalker who beat up a guy and even became a shut-in for a while. He was quite handsome. Still, how could he confidently say so? Well, frankly, he wasn't sure as he hadn't seen the mirror, but he knew that, at worst, he wasn't ugly. The only bad part was his gloomy hairstyle, which was like an emo guy, and his body was too thin, but in this country where frail and slender were seen as a good point, it was fine. The proof? There were many heroines who fell for Ishigami originally, like Iino Miko or Kobachi Ozaragi. There were probably more, but due to Ishigami's nature, he didn't realize it. Moreover, Ishigami's family wasn't bad at all since he was the second son of the toy company owner. With all of that qualification, it was weird of him not to have a girlfriend. However, it didn't mean that he could get cocky. No matter the situation, he shouldn't get ahead of himself and always move with caution, but then again, if he failed to get those heroines until he graduated, he could choose to become a NEET, mooching his family's money and just lived until he died before he was reincarnated again as the system told him that there were no serious consequences if he failed. Still, if he succeeds, he may acquire a certain talent from the girl who falls for him. While he wasn't sure what kind of talent he would receive, he was quite curious. At the same time, aside from giving him a quest, the system also had another use or support to help him learn various skills such as Reading Level 1, 9/100. As long as he tried to do a certain action, it would become a skill, and its proficiency would become better as he did that action. Each skill had a maximum of 5 levels, and he would become a master of that certain action when it reached a maximum level. However, even if this system was good, there was still a limit since one's ability was limited, and there were some that one couldn't learn, no matter how hard they tried. If he gave an example, it was to learn mathematics or physics since he knew that no matter how hard he learned, it was impossible for him to become a famous scientist who stuck out his tongue, showing a silly face, yet created a theory of relativity. Still, while there might be some limits to a study, the physical ability was different as everyone was equal. If one trained harder, their physical ability would increase, so during his stay in this world, he was going to make his body better since he didn't like his frail and weak body that was tormented by sleeping until late, eating junk foods, and stayed immobile due of playing game all the time. However, before that, I can't believe that you can stay so calm after what you did before. The voice was quiet, but it was said in a voice that could be deliberately heard by him. Ishigami turned his head and looked at the quite cute-looking girl with a blonde drill-like hairstyle and slender body, who sat on his side. She also looked at him purposefully and didn't seem to fear him looking in her direction. Or rather, she wanted him to look at her, so she said those words deliberately in a voice that he could hear. Who was this girl again? Oh, right, Onodera Rei-san. If he remembered well, even if this girl had also bad-mouthed him in the past, she also had changed after those who had cared about him told everyone the truth about his incident in the original story. Or rather, even if his incident wasn't known, her attitude toward him was quite light after they had become part of the cheer club at the sports festival. Still, he had to say, his beginning was quite hardcore as he was being mocked like this in the middle of the class. If it was Ishigami, he was sure that he would just pretend that he didn't hear anything and read something until Onodera looked away. However, as he had become Ishigami, it was impossible for him to ignore her. Still, he wouldn't get angry or beat her up since that would cause him trouble instead. The best revenge had never been a physical one but something that hurt the heart. Watching her smooth, soft, round buttocks that were wrapped in a short skirt of her school uniform, Ishigami made up his mind. "Thank you, Onodera-san." Onodera Rei was stunned and asked quietly with confusion, "Why did you thank me? I have tried to change, but it seems that my effort isn't enough, so thank you for reminding me." After saying that, Ishigami continued to read the books, which were hard to understand. As he was a shut-in and hardly studied, his knowledge was limited, and he had to learn even harder if he wanted to reach everyone's level. Still, since he had become Ishigami, it would be a shame if he didn't reach rank 1, beating those who thought of him as an idiot, having revenge in his own ways. After all, even if some students of this school were smart, he didn't think that they could reach the level of a scientist who stuck out his tongue. Yet, his words caused Onodera to be unable to focus, and she kept glancing at him from time to time, watching him, who quietly studied. Her heart felt tightened, mixed with some guilt but also a strange emotion, as she saw that he was really trying to change. Only when Onodera, who sat by his side, kept glancing at him did it attract the attention of many, especially those who were concerned about him. New novel. Please enjoy. By the way, this new novel will be like my usual world visit adventure novel, but the difference is that he visits a romance, harem, and comedy world. After the Kaguya world, he will go to the world like Hyuka, Yahari or no Seishun, or Yusuge no Sora. It is something like that, but then again, this won't be my focus since the ultimate being from the Tokanosha city took much of my time. Anyway, thank you, and please enjoy. Chapter 2, Kaguya will be gentle. Clearing up his stigma. Ishigami had decided to do this since he had to say that Onodera's words made him uncomfortable, and he was sure that the others would also talk to him mockingly like that. He wasn't like Ishigami, who could ignore the injustice that happened to him so he could make a girl happy due to her ignorance. After all, who wanted to live while being persecuted like this? Wasn't it better to live peacefully? Thankfully, Ishigami had evidence to prove his innocence, which could help him to expose the true criminal who had falsely accused him. At the same time, he thought of one figure who could help him to solve all the situations that had haunted him. Still, if he had to be honest, he didn't care about their talks since sooner or later, they would part away in life. High school was only 3 years, and after that, everyone would be on their own and become strangers. Moreover, he could become a NEET, relying on his parents and older brother to live in the future, so there was no need to be afraid of living in poverty. If there was a problem, he just didn't like when he thought he had to live like a criminal, yet those who had accused him and those whom Ishigami had saved could live happily. If it was the previous Ishigami, then he might think that there was nothing that he could do, and he was okay with it since he wanted to protect that girl, but he was different since he didn't want to live like this. Still, who is the name of the girl again? Ishigami tried to think of the name of the girl whom Ishigami tried to save in middle school, but in the end, he couldn't, so he didn't bother. This was one of the things that he had to do, and the other was his bangs. He had to say his bangs were annoying, as they were so long and made it hard for him to see. However, he also knew that it was all due to trauma and a way for him to protect himself from the outside. His bangs were like curtains that helped him to close the ugly world before him. Still, once again, he was different, so he swept up his bangs so he could see better. As expected, his sight became better, and he could see everything clearly. The bangs that helped him hide from reality before him were no longer needed by him. At the same time, he thought of cutting his hair short since he wasn't used to long hair, which should also be his new beginning. Yet, some people saw this action, their lips squirmed, but they couldn't say anything openly. Ishigami continued to learn even if what he could understand was limited, but when the break came, he didn't intend to stay in the class, as he was ready to start his plan to erase this stigma of his. However, when he stood up from his seat, "Ishigami! Ishigami turned and looked at Onodera, who suddenly called him out. He didn't show an unpleasant or cold expression, only curiosity. Yet, when Onodera faced his gaze, she couldn't say what she wanted to utter. Frankly, she should act cold, mock him with everyone like before, but somehow as she saw his silent hard work, she felt her heart was tightened, filled with guilt, thinking how childish her action be. However, the words that she wanted to say couldn't come out, and she just didn't know what to say. "What's wrong, Onodera-san?" His voice was gentle and polite, which made her even feel guilty. "No, nothing." In the end, Onodera couldn't say what she wanted to say. "Is that so? Then, I will leave first." "Okay." Onodera nodded. "Sorry for stopping you." "It's fine. You don't need to worry." Ishigami waved his hand and left the class with ease. Yet, Onodera couldn't feel at ease at all. She kept wondering why she couldn't say what she wanted to say, and this thought would probably haunt her until tomorrow. Ugh. Still, her actions were noticed by many, and they felt doubt, strangeness, and curiosity. Ishigami was a loner and a misfit, but Onodera was one of the pretty girls in the class who was also quite popular and had many friends. So, why should she stop him so suddenly? Yet, for a few of them, after they looked at Onodera, they looked at Ishigami's back, and their gazes filled with doubt. However, those things had nothing to do with Ishigami, who went to buy sandwiches and drinks before he visited the student council to implement his plan. Still, as he was on his way, he saw a petite and slender girl with fair skin and beautiful long black hair, which she tied on the back with a cute ribbon. Even from a distance, one could see how different she was from the rest, whether it was her beauty or the way she walked. Well, this girl wasn't his type, though, and when he thought so, suddenly, the girl turned and looked in his direction. Did she feel his rude thoughts? He was startled, but he quickly reacted and greeted this girl politely, "Shinomiya-senpai." "Ishigami-kun." The girl politely nodded at his greeting, yet she was also curious since she could feel that this junior of hers and the member of the student council were quite different, as it was rare for him to initiate a greeting or even appear in this area. Still, Ishigami felt that his change was nothing compared to the identity of this girl. Shinomiya Kaguya, the vice president of the student council and also his senior. Her total family worth was 200 trillion yen. Trains, banks, cars, etc., with easily over 1,000 child companies, the Shinomiya group counted as one among 4 zaibatsu, and she was the daughter of the leader of the entire group. Moreover, she also excelled in theater, musicals, martial arts, and countless other subjects. Still, such a perfect girl also had a weakness, but Ishigami didn't dare to talk about it since he didn't want to be sent to Siberia to plant a potato. "Are you going to the student council too?" Kaguya asked. "Yes." Ishigami nodded. "Are you going there too, senpai?" "Yes, I have some jobs to do there." Kaguya observed him discreetly, then asked, "It is me, or do you seem to change a little?" "Is it?" Ishigami pretended to be confused when he heard her question. "Yet." Kaguya nodded, feeling that this junior of hers really had changed somehow. "Is it a bad change?" When she was asked such a question, Kaguya didn't answer his question immediately, paused, and then shook her head. "No, I think it is good." Compared to the usual gloomy junior, this change wasn't bad at all. Still, this change made her curious, though. Still, she suddenly noticed that he appeared to be hesitant for a while, which made her ask once again, "What's wrong?" "Senpai, are you free after school?" "Well." Kaguya was dumbfounded when Ishigami asked her this question, but due to her curiosity, she nodded. "I am free." "Is there a problem?" If it was another man, she might not agree and would reject the invitation, but it was different with Ishigami as they knew each other. Moreover, she also did a background check from his birth until now, so she knew he was safe and gentle, especially when she also knew the truth behind his accident. After a moment of hesitation, Ishigami said, "There is something that I want to talk with you about later after school. Can you meet me later, senpai?" "Okay." Even though Kaguya was curious, she decided to wait until the class was over, wondering what Ishigami wanted to say, but then, one thought suddenly crossed her mind. Is he going to confess to me? When Kaguya thought so, she was stunned and secretly glanced at Ishigami, who changed the hairstyle into a mid-parted long hair like a young Kimura Takia with long hair. While she had to admit that Ishigami was handsome, she had to apologize since her love had already been given to a certain someone whom she couldn't name. So, if Ishigami confessed to her, then of course, she would have to reject him. Still, as he was her junior, she knew that she had to be gentle so she wouldn't hurt his heart. As she made up her mind to do so, they had arrived at the student council. Only if Ishigami knew what was on the head of this young woman would he be sure that he would stare at her speechlessly, thinking that, like her family's wealth, her imagination was rich. Chapter 3, Ishigami is going to change. Oh? Ishigami? Shinomiya. Kaiku, president in Japanese language, 2x. When the young man inside the two entered at the same time, he was surprised. Yet, Ishigami couldn't help but observe the young man before him, the protagonist of this world. Miyuki Shirogane. A handsome young man with blonde hair, dark blue sanpaku eyes, and long eyelashes. Moreover, dark circles showed how exhausted he was, yet he didn't seem to stop working. Still, compared to his outer appearance, his achievement was something that one should appreciate more. A man of unparalleled wisdom and intellect. Constantly taking first place in mock exams. A genius among geniuses, the top scorer in the entire country. Compared to Kaguya, who was an all-rounder, Shirogane focused all of his focus on studying to a fearsome degree. More importantly, he was also the student council president of the Shuchiin Academy, a private school exclusively for the rich and nobles with a long history. Being chosen as the student council president meant he was impressive in that school. Still, compared to all of that, if there was a reason why Ishigami explained all of Shirogane's achievements, it was all because this young man was the one who saved the real Ishigami. When everyone doubted him and thought of him as a creepy stalker, forcing him to apologize even though he wasn't at fault, then turning him into a shut-in for a period of time, Shirogane came and told him that he believed in him. When everyone was in doubt, Shirogane was the only one who trusted Ishigami. So, there was no doubt that even if he wasn't the original Ishigami, he felt indebted to Shirogane. However, at this moment, Shirogane felt an unprecedented crisis, as he had never thought that Ishigami and Kaguya would appear so close to each other. Still, it was hard to ask why they were so close, but with his brilliant mind, he quickly asked why they were together. "It's rare to see the two of you together, what's wrong? Was it too straightforward?" Somehow, Shirogane felt regret for asking the two of them such a question so suddenly. While Ishigami didn't feel anything by this question, Kaguya was surprised by Shirogane's question. As expected, did he fall for me? After all, it was impossible for one to ask such a question if they didn't care about the others. Still, like Izugahime, Kaguya knew Shirogane's background and history. Naturally, she also knew that Shirogane had low self-esteem, and if there was something that could push him forward till now, it was his #1 grade in the entire country, so even if it might seem fun to tease him to see how he would react if she told him that Ishigami might confess to her after school, she decided to be straightforward. "I have some tasks that I have to do in the student council. As for Ishigami, we just met along the way, Kaiku." "Yes." Ishigami nodded, then quickly changed the topic. "By the way, Kaiku, can I ask you about the studies?" "Oh, sure." Shirogane was surprised, but he nodded readily. Inwardly, he felt relief that nothing had happened to the two of them, and at the same time, he was happy that Ishigami wished to improve. He still remembered their first meeting and how much of a mess Ishigami had been before, so he was pleased when Ishigami came to him, taking the initiative to ask about the study. "Thank you." Ishigami smiled, thinking that everything was moving in a good direction. "By the way, have you eaten Kaiku? I have too many sandwiches and tea with me. Is that fine?" Shirogane asked in surprise. "Sure. Thanks." After they said so, Ishigami asked Shirogane about his studies, what he should learn, and what kind of books he should get. Shirogane easily answered all of Ishigami's questions, telling him what Ishigami should learn and what kind of books Ishigami should read. "You should be able to get all the books in the library. Try to borrow them later after school." "Thank you, Kaiku." As they talked, Kaguya kept observing the two of them. No, she observed Ishigami. Did he try to improve to make her heart sway? If so, then she thought that Ishigami had done a good job, but unfortunately, she had fallen for someone. Yet, when she thought that he might get depressed after she rejected him, somehow, she felt sorry for him. While she knew that she shouldn't do this, she felt like she should compensate him, trying to cheer him up, so he wouldn't stop being a better self. Nevertheless, even if she felt so, her love for that certain man didn't change. What she wanted to do was to support this junior of hers who wanted to change. Yet, once again, Ishigami was oblivious to Kaguya's thoughts, and his only focus was to learn to become the best student in the school. Still, the break soon ended, and Ishigami thanked Shirogane. "Thank you, Kaiku." "No problem." Shirogane shook his head and said, "If you have a problem, you can ask me." "I will." Ishigami thought for a while and asked, "By the way, are you free this weekend?" "This weekend?" Shirogane thought for a while, then nodded. "I should be free." "What's wrong? Do you want to learn more?" "No, I am just asking. Studying is enough when it is during the weekdays. I think that you should work harder." Shirogane was speechless, and at the same time, he also felt that Ishigami had changed slightly, making him appear cheerful and somehow, more sociable. Well, this change of his was good, so Shirogane didn't care much, and as a guy, he wasn't so sensitive to this type of change. "Anyway, thanks, Kaiku. I will go back first." Ishigami excused himself and also said goodbye to Kaguya. "Shinomiya-senpai, I will excuse myself." Kaguya nodded and said, "Like Kaiku said, you should study harder. I think that a proper rest is important." While Ishigami was a bit frightened by Kaguya, as he knew how horrible the power of money was, he decided to test her bottom limit, so he knew what he shouldn't do and do. Yes, he might have a system, but Kaguya's power of money was too much for him to bear. "Say that again after you get a good rank on the entire grade." "Oh, look at the time. I need to go to the class, or I might be late." More than this, it was dangerous, so Ishigami decided to do a strategic retreat. "Hey!" Kaguya looked at Ishigami's back helplessly. "Don't be harsh on him," Shirogane said with a gentle smile, but he was glad that nothing had happened between Ishigami and Kaguya. "No, we have to be harsh. I am afraid that he might become a sleazy guy." "Sleazy guy?" Ishigami. 2x. The two thought for a while, then shook their heads. They knew Ishigami well, and they knew it would be impossible for him to become a man who played with the hearts of many women. Still, while Shirogane shook his head, Kaguya fell into a deep silence, wondering how she should reject Ishigami later. As she was in a mess, walking on a spiral of wonder at how not to hurt her underclassmen, who worked hard to get her love, Ishigami returned to his class, and he started to study hard, honing his skills, especially reading, as it made him able to read and understand the content of the book faster, so he could study in a shorter time. It was time for everyone to go home, so Ishigami, who didn't intend to stay any longer, directly packed his books and bag, ready to go to the student council room, ready to meet Kaguya to solve his stigma. Someone stopped him again. "Ishigami." Ishigami turned and saw that it was Onodera who stopped him once again. "Onodera-san? Is there something wrong?" He sat in his seat again, looking at Onodera in doubt. Yet, once again, even if Onodera was able to stop Ishigami, she wasn't sure what to say. "Are you going back now?" "No, I am planning to go to the student council." "Ah, I am sorry for stopping you." Onodera quickly apologized. "No, it's fine." Ishigami shook his head and asked, "Do you need me for something?" Being asked, Onodera lowered her head, hesitating and wondering what she should say, but Ishigami didn't seem to be impatient, and she was waiting for her. As he looked at his attentive and gentle gaze, somehow, courage was born in her heart. "If you don't mind, can we talk later? I mean after you are done with the matter of the student council." "I don't mind, but I'm not sure when I'll return from the student council." "I don't mind waiting, but, how about you give me your line so you can tell me when you finish with the student council?" After Onodera said so, Ishigami fell into silence and looked at her strangely. What's wrong? What's with that gaze?" Onodera felt confused by Ishigami's gaze. "Are you trying to pick me up?" Ishigami asked hesitantly, then softly said, "I know we're sitting next to each other, but my line isn't so easy to get, especially since we aren't close." "Idiot! I am not." Onodera blushed, feeling embarrassed, and came closer, almost pressing him. "Anyway, give me your line. You are like that pushy pick-up guy on that street now, Onodera-san." "I am not." As they bickered, naturally, they attracted much attention, but neither of them paid attention. But since you are so desperate, I will tell you my line. Onodera pouted, but when she got his line, her hands moved fast, and she quickly sent him a sticker on the chat. Onodera, a cute character sticking out her tongue. Ishigami only read her chat and then put his smartphone back in his pocket. Why do you only read? Give me a reply. Onodera complained about his callousness, who had just read her chat without even any intention to reply. I am right beside you. What kind of reply do you want me to send you? Ishigami looked at Onodera helplessly and stood up. Then, I will go to the student council first. Onodera nodded reluctantly, then said, when you finish the student council, tell me, okay? I will. Go for it. Tapping his back like a supporting sports character did to the protagonist, Onodera sent him off. Do you think I am going to the competition or something? By the way, don't spam me later. I won't. Ishigami didn't say much and only waved his hand, but Onodera pouted, unhappy by his lack of energy response. Also, what did he mean by not sending him spam? Did he think of her as an annoying girl? Yet, when Onodera thought about what she had told him before, she somehow couldn't refute it and could only lower her head slightly, feeling worse and wondering why she had said something so mean to him. Nevertheless, while she might not realize it, the gap between them had become closer, and the hesitation in her heart was no longer there. Her ambiguous thoughts had become firmer, and as she had that exchange, she knew what she wanted to do. It was just that many were staring at them, and some of them had complicated expressions as they watched their exchange. Yet, those things didn't have anything to do with Ishigami, who had come to the student council, but he was surprised to see that Kaguya was there. Hey? Are you here already, senpai? I come as soon as the class is finished. Sorry to make you wait, then. It's fine. I just happen to have nothing to do. Kaguya took a deep breath and saw Ishigami close the door. The room was quiet, there were only the two of them. She could hear the sound of her heartbeat clearly. It was fast, she thought. Frankly, it wasn't her first time receiving a confession, yet why did she feel nervous and her face was so hot? Kaguya wasn't sure why, but she tried to calm herself. So, do you need me for something, Ishigami-kun? Senpai. Ishigami looked at Kaguya and said, in a straightforward manner, can you help me erase my stigma? However, Kaguya's answer was different from his expectations. I am sorry. I thought of you as a precious junior, and you are also kind of cute, but I have someone that I like, and I can't betray him. 2x. The two fell silent, and Ishigami stared at Kaguya, whose face started to redden like a red tomato. Ahem. Chapter 4, Kaguya Can't Be Teased. Sipping her warm chamomile tea, the gentle scent of the tea calmed Kaguya down. Do you want me to help you to erase your stigma? Yes. Nevertheless, Kaguya was so glad that Ishigami didn't plan to pursue her blunder or tease her for her mistake of thinking that he was about to confess to her. At the same time, she also felt quite guilty, especially after she had rejected him, even if it was a mistake. Nevertheless, as she was truthful and told him why she couldn't accept his love, he should understand, right? Ugh. I can't stay calm. Kaguya felt embarrassed, wondering why she was so narcissistic, but then again, she would be lying if she didn't feel surprised by Ishigami's request. Frankly, it was easy for her to clear up his stigma, especially when she had done deep research on Ishigami and the accident that happened to him. She also knew that if there was a reason why he bore everything and just accepted it, it was all because he didn't want the girl he wanted to protect to be sad and hurt. Yet, he suddenly asked her to clarify everything that he hadn't done, which meant that the girl he wanted to protect would be sad and hurt. Was it okay? While Kaguya didn't mind helping him, she wanted to ask the reason. Can I ask you the reason? Is it so weird of me wishing my stigma to be erased? Ishigami asked strangely. After all, it was normal for one wishing to live without being persecuted for something they didn't do. No, it isn't weird, but then again, why now? Kaguya asked curiously. Still, with all the questions she had asked him, Ishigami knew that she didn't mind helping him. It's all because of Kaiku. Kaiku? Why? Kaguya was in doubt. If it's me who is hurt by this stigma, then I don't mind, but when I heard that Kaiku is also affected by me, I just can't let this happen. Out of all the students in this school, he chose me, helped me, and believed me. When everyone thinks that I am a troublemaker, stalker, or even a misfit, he is the only one who believes me, so I don't want him to be affected by my status. So, while it might be a little late, I want to clear up everything and tell everyone that Kaiko didn't choose the wrong person. Those who were familiar with him would think that his words were a lie, but Ishigami didn't lie since he knew that he owed a lot of things to Shirogane, and everyone also talked badly about Shirogana's choice of him as the treasurer of the student council member. It's not too late. Kaguya looked straight at Ishigami straightly and said firmly, I will help you. I will clear everything up. Hearing his confession, it was impossible for her not to feel anything, and as usual, her junior was as gentle and kind as ever. Unlike her, who was evil and thought of everything based on loss and profit, he was different, and from his eyes, she could tell that he didn't lie. It was why she didn't mind, especially when she also knew how Shirogane was also affected by his choice of Ishigami as the treasurer. Ishigami was the most suitable treasurer, yet the others didn't think so, especially with his stigma. Thank you, senpai. Ishigami thanked Kaguya sincerely. Acting level 4, 44/100. Ishigami fell in silence, wondering when he had learned acting skills. Also, wasn't the level a bit too high? But, can I ask you something? Yes. Only once again did it seem Kaguya had some misunderstandings about him. You don't like Kaiko, right? I mean in a romantic way. Ishigami stared at Kaguya in silence for a while, clearly worried, wondering whether he was in love with Shirogane. It was hurt when he thought that she would misunderstand him this way. I am normal. If I have to choose between you and Kaiko, I will confess to you, senpai. Kaguya blushed, being reminded of her previous misunderstanding, then looked at him with a gentle smile. It seems you have learned to tease your senior, Ishigami-kun. If I don't tease you, I am afraid you will make another misunderstanding. I apologize. It's fine. I am glad that the misunderstanding was easily solved. Still, Kaguya looked at Ishigami for a while, then asked, is that all? What do you mean? I mean, is that all the reason why you want to erase your stigma? Kaguya asked, but her voice was quite playful. Once again, Ishigami knew that Kaguya was under misunderstanding. He felt helpless, but he knew that he had to humor this girl even if he was too lazy to do so. Do you think that I have someone that I like? Well, aren't you? Kaguya smiled happily and asked, so, who is it? Who have you fallen with? Ishigami stared at Kaguya blankly, then thought to tease her. It's you. Hey. Kaguya was dumbfounded. I have fallen in love with you, senpai, but you have someone you like after all, so I can only give up and sincerely hope for your happiness. His smile was peaceful, as if truly happy by her rejection. I am sorry. Kaguya apologized sincerely as she bowed her head. It's fine. You have helped me after all, so I don't mind even if you reject me. Ishigami sounded so helpless as if he had accepted his fate. Yet, this was the fate of a poor guy who was only the second son of the toy company owner. In front of Kaguya, who was the heiress of one of the largest groups in this country, he gritted his teeth and let himself be toyed with this cruel, wealthy lady. I am sorry, Ishigami-kun. Can you not tease me anymore? Fortunately, Ishigami was an understanding junior, so he wouldn't tease his senior. Still, Kaguya felt her face burning hot, and she wanted to hide inside the blanket because of her misunderstanding. Nevertheless, watching Kaguya, who seemed to be ravaged by him, Ishigami thought for a while and said, by the way, senpai, while it might not be much, how about I repay you with something? Hey? You don't need to. Kaguya quickly shook her head and said, there is no need for you to be troubled by this, Ishigami-kun. It is easy for me to erase your stigma. Yes, for her, it was so easy to erase Ishigami's stigma and bring hell to the man who had slandered Ishigami. To be honest, the man who had slandered Ishigami had transferred after being pushed away by those who stood at the top of this school as they knew the truth behind Ishigami's incident. All the evidence, clarification, and everything was ready in her hands. If Kaguya wished to, she could clear up Ishigami's stigma with just a single phone call. More importantly, with her family's wealth, there was nothing that she wished for. However, it might not be much, but I can set you up a date with Kaiko if you don't mind. Kaguya wanted to refuse Ishigami, but her mouth stopped when she heard his words. Hey! Ishigami thought that Kaguya hadn't heard his words, so he repeated. If you don't mind, I can set you up a date with Kaiko. Ha! Why should I go on a date with Kaiku? Her face was so red, and she had clearly lost her composure. Then, you don't want to? Ishigami asked curiously. Ishigami-kun, you should know there is something that you should and shouldn't do, and teasing me repeatedly isn't something that you should do, okay? Kaguya smiled sweetly at Ishigami, yet this smile was so cold for some reason. What could Ishigami do? I am sorry. In front of the power of the Shinomiya group, Ishigami could only bow down to protect his future. In front of Kaguya, Ishigami is nothing but an ant. Chapter 5, Ishigami can only be obedient. As Ishigami's sincere apology reached her ears, Kaguya's heart raced. She began to craft an excuse, a veil to conceal her blossoming feelings for Shirogane, but the words caught in her throat, leaving her vulnerable. I mean, why should I go on a date with Kaiku? Yet, it was impossible for her not to be attracted by Ishigami's proposal, but it was impossible for her to be straightforward to admit that she was in love with Shirogane. However, if there was a justifiable reason, then Kaguya didn't mind though. Fortunately, Ishigami was as smart as ever and a reliable junior that Kaguya always thought of. I mean, I am in love with someone and want to bring her on a date, but I am not confident about my plan, so can I ask you and Kaiku to try my date plan to see whether it is good or not? Kaguya's heart exploded with excitement. She could see that Ishigami had become even more handsome at this moment, and his words filled her with joy and excitement, thinking that her junior was so reliable. At the same time, she had decided to clear up his stigma by tomorrow. When Ishigami came to the school tomorrow, everyone would know the real culprit, and he was innocent. Still pressing her hand against her cheek, Kaguya appeared as calm and elegant as ever. I see, if that's my junior's request, then I can't refuse it, can't I? Who made you my junior? Geez, what a helpless junior. You need my help at every moment, but you don't have to worry. I will help you with Kaiku. Ah, yes, thank you. Ishigami thanked Kaguya with a plain tone, yet he tried to be as sincere as possible. If I am as rich as her. Ishigami drank the chamomile tea brewed by Kaguya, trying to mask his frustration for being poor and helpless. Are you okay with this weekend? Sure. Kaguya nodded, then remembered Ishigami's question to Shirogane on the break previously, who asked him whether Shirogane was free this weekend or not. Have you thought of this before? I am in love with someone after all, and I want to date her successfully. Ishigami was a kind and understandable junior, so he wouldn't tease his senior anymore. Kaguya nodded, feeling satisfied by Ishigami's attitude. You don't have to worry. I will help you with everything. Still, when she thought it was over, she heard him ask another question. Is that all? What do you mean? Don't you want to hear my date plan? Kaguya blinked her eyes and still did not understand the meaning behind his words. However, Ishigami was still kindly explained to her in a subtle way. You can give me input on where I should go on this date plan. I see. Kaguya felt her heart was beating so fast, but... Can you tell me your date plan first? Even if she was excited, she was a novice, and it was her first time to fall in love with someone. She also had never gone on a date with someone, so she wasn't sure where to go. There are many places that I thought of, such as going to the aquarium, watching the colorful fishes and enjoying the dolphin show, going to the famous spots, tasting delicious foods, strolling around the park, enjoying the quietness together, going to the planetarium, stargazing the beautiful stars together, or even going to the neighbor town, having an escape journey together. Kaguya didn't say anything. It wasn't that she didn't like Ishigami's plan, but her head was overloaded with all the information as she imagined how powerful it was to go to those places with her beloved. All of those plans were so great that she didn't know which he should choose. However, even if she wanted to go to all of them, she knew that they only had one chance, so she couldn't waste it. Still, she didn't know what to do, so she asked, I see, all of them are wonderful, and I don't have any opinions of all the choices that you have made, but you can only choose one after all, so where will you bring her? Ishigami was speechless, but he thought for a while and said, I guess. I will bring her on a normal date. Normal date? Kaguya looked at Ishigami in doubt. Yeah. Ishigami nodded. Watching a movie together, then eating together as we talk about the movie and many other things, before strolling around the area, and if there is a time. If there is a time. If there was a time, they should go to the hotel, Ishigami thought, but he wouldn't say something like that, so he thought for a while and said, going to the arcade. This was probably the best answer he could come up with when he thought two high school students went on a date together. Arcade. Yes. Ishigami nodded and asked, have you been there, senpai? Not yet. Kaguya shook her head and said, but I know that it is a noisy place. It is. Ishigami didn't deny Kaguya's opinion, which caused her to look at him strangely. Then, why did you decide to come to this place? There are many fun games, and even if you don't have any topics for conversation, you can play those games together. I see. Kaguya nodded. You can become closer as you play together. Yes. It's like our childhood when we become close to each other naturally when we are playing together. Still, unlike Ishigami, who had a normal childhood, due to her identity, Kaguya didn't have a normal childhood, so she longed for something normal, and this date plan attracted her the most. You are right. As this is the first date, let's make the safest bet. Kaguya decided to choose this plan. Okay, I will set everything up tonight and talk this to Kaiku tomorrow. Thanks. Kaguya felt a little embarrassed since she knew that Ishigami had accommodated her whim and embarrassment. It's fine. You are my senior, right? Watching his relaxed smile, Kaguya also smiled and said, you are also my junior, so you don't have to worry about anything. The two might not have expressed their thoughts, but they knew they understood each other. Then, I will go back first, senpai. Everything was solved, and Ishigami knew that his stigma would be cleared up soon. As for urging Kaguya, he wouldn't do so, especially when he trusted her. Only. No, you can't go home now. Hey. Ishigami was dumbfounded, then shuddered once again when he saw Kaguya's sweet smile. I am your senior, right? So, isn't it natural for me to help you? There is still time, so I will help you with your study. Ishigami's lips twitched, and he knew that this girl had planned something bad. Ah, no, I don't want to bother you, senpai. I have troubled you with many things after all. While he said so, he had already planned to escape. Yes, while the prospect of being taught by a beautiful senior was nice and all, he wanted the gentle one instead of the Sparta one. It's fine. It's fine. You don't have to worry. Kaguya still had this sweet smile on him, grasping his wrist tightly so Ishigami couldn't escape. Unlike most women, her grasp was powerful, especially when she trained with Kyudo, Japanese archery, from childhood. Ow! 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 Ishigami felt helpless, feeling pain as her fingers dug deep into his arm. So, what's your answer, Ishigami-kun? Please take care of me, Shinomiya-senpai. Good. I like an obedient junior, so sit down there and let me teach you everything. As Ishigami sat down obediently, he sighed inwardly, thinking how hopeless he was in front of the overwhelming power of capitalists. While he wanted to wash away his humiliation, he knew that he had to be more connected, wealthier, and more powerful than Kaguya. Still, while such a thing was possible with his system, probably, he knew that, more importantly, he had to improve his grades and be stronger, especially when he saw the red marks on his arm when he took a bath after he went home. Chapter 6, Did you forget? She might be a sadist, but her ability is top-notch. His feelings toward Kaguya became a whirlwind of emotions, a complex storm of attraction and wariness. Ishigami was fully aware that it was more beneficial to be her ally than her foe. In her eyes, he might be a tiny shrimp or even a plankton, while she was a colossal blue whale capable of devouring many of his kind with ease. Still, she was also an idiot, especially when it came to her feelings for Shirogane. Nevertheless, those things aside, as long as they treated each other sincerely, Ishigami knew that Kaguya was his reliable senior. Not only would she help him to erase his stigma, but she also helped him to study. While it was hard, the result of being taught by her was clear, so while this body was in torment, he didn't mind being taught by her, but then again, as the heiress of the Shinomiya group, her time naturally couldn't be spent on him all the time. With all of that, if he mistreated her, he definitely would be a failure as a human. As he thought so, he arrived at the library, wishing to borrow some books before he went home, but it seemed that it was closed even though he had come as soon as possible. Is it closed already? If possible, he didn't want to waste his time and wanted to study more since his improvement was clear, and the harder he worked, the greater the result was, so he felt a bit disappointed when the library closed. Still, the volunteer school librarian looked at the person who asked that question and asked, "What book do you need to borrow, Ishigami?" While she said so, she opened the key to the library. Ishigami looked at the female librarian before him, who was also his classmate. They hardly talked, or rather, when they had a conversation, it was only when her friend happened to be nearby. Still, when she opened the library for him even though it had closed, he had to say, "Thank you, Ozaragi-san. I need to borrow some books to study." Kobachi Ozaragi. A girl with collarbone-length black hair that is styled to have its tied ends rests on her left shoulder and wears round glasses that obscure her eyes. Even though her eyes were obscured, when they stood close, Ishigami could see how beautiful she was. Still, if there was something that made him weird, it might be how gentle her eyes were when she looked at him. "It's fine. Which book is it? Let me help you." Usually, one would apologize when they troubled others, but Ishigami knew the word thanks was far better to hear. Was that why she appeared so gentle? Ishigami didn't bother to think and just pointed out which book he wanted. "It's this book." Yes, this girl might be beautiful, and he also wanted to have a girlfriend, wondering what kind of a reward he might receive when he got one, but he wasn't so desperate for it as he could live well as a NEET by relying on his parents and older brother. At worst, he could also study hard, becoming a respectable government employee, relying on the tax of people to live. As for working under Kaguya, even if she was a good senior of his, she was also a capitalist. If he worked under her, he was afraid that she would squeeze him dry. Kobachi never knew what was on the head of Ishigami and just attentively guided him to the place where the books he wanted to borrow were. "Oh, it's over there." Under her guidance, Ishigami quickly found the books he wanted, and they didn't waste much time. "Write your name here. You have to return it in a week." "Okay." As Ishigami wrote all his names and recorded which books he wanted to borrow, Kobachi observed him discreetly. If it were others, they might not realize it, but as someone who had watched him, she knew that he had changed. Still, while she was also curious about his change, she was more cornered about how close he suddenly became with Onodera. It was something that had never happened, especially when he hardly got close to any girls except for a certain girl whose name she didn't want to name at that moment. Yet, given their relationship, Kobachi also didn't think it was right of her to ask him such a question. Neither of them was close to the other, and to ask such a question so suddenly to him, wasn't it creepy? "What's wrong?" "Ah? What?" Kobachi was startled when she heard Ishigami's voice. "No, you seem to be in pain. Are you okay?" Unlike before, who appeared so gentle in front of him, Kobachi frowned, seemingly in pain. Ishigami wondered whether she was in the middle of that month, but he knew he couldn't ask such a question, considering how rude it was. Still hearing his question, Kobachi looked at him helplessly. "Isn't it because of you?" However, this part of him never changed. Ishigami was still as gentle as ever. Unlike others, who came close with a hidden intention, he was sincere and just wished to help others, yet everything changed after that incident. If I was in her place. If she was in her place, then she wouldn't let him be in pain, yet watching him be able to recover and return to how he used to be made her feel relief and joy. "I am fine now." "It's good then." Somehow, this exchange also gave her a chance to ask him about his change, but... "Koba-chan, are you there?" Suddenly, the two heard a familiar voice. "Hey! Ishigami, what are you doing here?" The voice was filled with doubt and confusion, clearly in disbelief when she saw him inside the library. Ishigami was speechless, but he knew from the memory of previous Ishigami what kind of relationship he shared with this girl, who was so rude toward him, yet similarly, he was also rude toward her. If there had been no such incident, their relationship wouldn't have been like this, but as it had happened, then it had become like this. Still, he wasn't Ishigami, so facing this petite girl with brown eyes and long brown hair that was styled in a loose pigtail, he was relatively calm instead of having an emotional complex. "Is it so weird to see me here?" "It's weird." Iino Michael looked at him worriedly and asked, "Are you sick?" She even wanted to put her hand on his forehead, but naturally, he swatted her rude hand away. If it had been in class, she might not have appeared this close to him, but as it was outside, and there was only her best friend, Kobachi, there was no need to restrain herself, as she had many questions that she wanted to ask him. "You are so rude." Ishigami was helpless, but he didn't intend to explain anything. "You haven't gone home yet?" "Yes." Iino nodded helplessly and subconsciously explained, there is still a job that I haven't finished in the Public Moral Committee. As for why she explained why she hadn't gone home to Ishigami, it might be because it was hard, so she wanted to tell someone. Thank you for your hard work. Ishigami lightly hit Iino's head with the book he borrowed slowly, causing her to quickly cover the small head in defense. Still, he didn't forget about Kobachi. Thanks for the help, Kobachi-san. Kobachi nodded. Do you need me to help with the closing? No, it's fine. Iino is here. Then, I will go back first. Yet. Be careful on your way. You too, Kobachi-san. You too, Iino. Oh. Kobachi nodded and watched Ishigami leave, but then her eyes focused on Iino, who was still in a daze and covered her head stupidly. As she was so close, she could see a shy blush on Iino's cheeks, and she couldn't look away from Ishigami with a silly expression on her face, which made her feel conflicted and gloomy. On the other hand, as Ishigami wished to change first, he made up his plan, and he was clear about what he wanted to do after this. Only when he was about to change his shoes and leave the school did someone call him. Ishigami, where are you going? I am going back, Onedera-san. Ishigami looked at Onodera, who suddenly appeared and stopped him. Confused by her sudden question, he asked, what's wrong? Did you forget to tell me in line when you have finished with the student council? Onodera asked with a slight resentment and hopelessness in her eyes. Ishigami. Melt. Chapter 7, Anmitsu is sweet. I will help you change everyone's impression of you, Onodera said, saying those words as if they were a declaration. Can I have a matcha and also Anmitsu? Yes. As the waitress wrote his order, Onodera's gaze remained fixed on Ishigami, her silence forbidding. She had made a grand statement, yet this guy was more interested in the sweets. At that moment, they went to a Japanese sweets restaurant near their school. After they met, they went directly somewhere for their meeting, and this shop caught his eye as it was his first time trying Japanese sweets. As someone with a sweet tongue, it would be impossible for him to ignore this chance. By the way, are you really treating me, Onedera-san? Nevertheless, it surprised him that she was going to treat him, but as she said so, he wouldn't hesitate. Yeah, just order what you want. Most of the students in their school were wealthy and comprised 1% of the high-income citizens. Naturally, Onodera's parents were also part of such citizens, and as the first daughter of the jewelry company owner, it was impossible for her to be poor, so treating Ishigami to this sweet shop was nothing for her. Thanks. Ishigami thanked Onodera and then asked, by the way, have you tried a Japanese sweet, Onodera-san? Now that you mention it, I haven't. When she heard such a question, Onodera realized that she hadn't tried Japanese sweets. Then, you should make an order. What did you order? Anmitsu and matcha. Are they good? I am not sure. I just followed the recommendation since, like you, I have never tried the Japanese sweet. Onodera looked at Ishigami speechlessly, realizing how much guts this guy had. Trying something new wasn't easy for some people, and they needed a lot of time to make a small decision, but naturally, she wasn't one of those people. Then, I will order the same, but I will get an Earl Grey ice cream. After all, there was something that she wanted to discuss with Ishigami, which was more important than a mere sweet. Still, she didn't mind eating a sweet or two during their conversation. By the way, I am sorry for forgetting to chat with you online before. Nevertheless, Ishigami apologized as he had forgotten to remind Onodera when he finished with his problems. No, it's fine. Onodera shook her head and asked, is the student council busy? Her expression was better when she heard Ishigami's apology, then, she asked whether she had caused him trouble by inviting him so suddenly. It's fine. There is some work, but it isn't something that I can't handle. While there were many things that Ishigami wanted to do, all of those things could be pushed aside for a while. Once again, I am sorry. Onodera apologized for both taking his time when he was busy and for mocking him during class. Don't apologize repeatedly. It's fine. You have even treated me to sweets, too. Probably because it was a habit of every person in this country to apologize repeatedly, Ishigami also understood Onodera's action. Thanks. Onodera smiled, and then Ishigami asked, so, what is it again? Do you want to help me? Yes. Hearing his question, she nodded repeatedly. I want to help you. 4. so, your impression on everyone will change. You want to change, right? I will help you. Ishigami looked at this excited girl strangely and asked, why? Onodera was stunned and fell into silence for a while, but she also understood that her action was weird in Ishigami's eyes. She had previously mocked him, and after all of that, she told him that she wanted to help him. If he didn't think of her as a strange girl, then it was impossible. Or rather, did she appear creepy in his eyes? However, I don't know why, but I can see that you really want to change. While I know you might not believe me, especially when I hurt you with my mean words, I regret my actions and words toward you. Maybe it might be just satisfaction, or maybe because I just want to apologize, but believe me, I just want to help you. Onodera wasn't sure what kind of expressions when she said all of that, but her expressions were so mixed with many. Frankly, she even wondered why she even took a lot of trouble to help him. Was it due to the guilt in her heart? Or was it due to his conviction of wishing to change, which he had shown her previously? Unlike her, who was so childish, she listened to the rumors and then looked down on the people in the rumors as if she were a higher being than them. When she saw his eyes, who just calmly looked at her and told her thank after she said such mean things, she felt like she had woken up. It was like cold water was poured on her head. It might be late or might even be seen as creepy by him, but even so, Onodera wanted to help him. Onodera-san. Yes. After saying all of that, it would be impossible for Onodera not to be nervous and unable to meet his eyes, but his gentle voice somehow made her gain courage and met his eyes timidly. Thank you. Then. But I am sorry. You don't have to help me. Why? Onodera was stunned by his unexpected answer. She thought that he would agree, yet why did he reject her? Let's say you want to help me, what will you do? Ishigami asked while looking at Onodera in doubt. Onodera thought for a while and said, I will tell you that you have changed, and you are not like in the rumor to everyone. What? Why are you in silence like that? Onodera felt nervous somehow, wondering whether she had said something wrong. However, Ishigami wasn't in a hurry to answer Onodera's question as their order came. Your order is ready. Thanks. Ishigami thanked the waitress politely, to which she responded with a cute smile. Onodera was in silence, then snorted at the waitress, who seemed to be trying to seduce Ishigami. What bad service, is she a waitress or a hostess? She did a good job. Her smile healed me from your thoughtless help. Hey? What's wrong with my help? Watching her confusion, Ishigami sighed helplessly and said, let's say that you told them that, what will their response be? Onodera thought for a while, seemingly confused, so Ishigami added, do you think they will not and agree with you? Onodera. Instead of having their opinion of me change, I seem like a child who can't join the group and just begging to join with your help. While they might smile outwardly, what will they think inwardly? Onodera's EQ wasn't low, especially when she had many friends, so she understood his words clearly. While they might smile and welcome Ishigami due to her words, inwardly, they disdained him and even talked behind his back. Instead of helping him, she would make his situation worse. Moreover, I want to change not because of everyone. It is for myself. I don't need anyone's acknowledgement to show that I am better and I have changed. If one wanted to change due to everyone's acknowledgement, Ishigami would snort, thinking that it was a shitty reason to change. Ishigami didn't want everyone's acknowledgement as he didn't want to become Hokage, but then again, he also had to admit that his past was as horrible as Uzumaki Naruto's. However, unlike Naruto, he wasn't so desperate, and his status wasn't as sensitive as Naruto, whose status was comparable to a nuclear weapon. Moreover, instead of begging those people, he wanted them to regret or beg him as they had alienated him. Still, his answer made Onodera fall into a daze, thinking that Ishigami really had changed, and this change made her unable to look away from him. What's wrong? Is there something on my face? No. Onodera shook her head softly, feeling slightly hot on her face, and said, but you really have changed. Or rather, did she just know him better? She wanted to know him better somehow. Is it something bad? No, it's good. Then, go eat. The ice on your Enmitsu will melt if you don't eat it soon. Ah, why didn't you tell me? I just told you, right? As Onodera pouted, she scooped the Earl Grey ice cream on her Enmitsu. It's sweet, she thought, but somehow, not only her tongue but also the sweetness also remained within her heart. Chapter 8, Benefit from a Wealthy Girl. Does the matcha ice cream taste good? There is a slight bitterness, but it suits the sweet well. While they ordered the same anmitsu, their choice of ice cream was different. Can I get a taste of it? Ishigami looked at Onodera, who looked at him with a cute face. As she asked such a request, she put her small spoon on her cherry-colored lips, lightly licking her spoon with her small tongue. No. Why? Onodera appeared unconvinced and didn't give up. I treated you, right? Shouldn't you share some of your ice cream with me? Your saliva is all over your spoon. Isn't a guy supposed to be happy to have an indirect kiss with a cute girl? Where is the cute girl? Onodera pouted, then lightly kicked his shin. Ow! 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 Ishigami reacted exaggeratedly, causing her to complain lightly. I didn't kick you that hard. My shin is sensitive. Oh, right, you joined a football club in middle school, right? Did you quit due to the injury? Are you fine? Ishigami didn't expect Onodera to react so exaggeratedly, and she even crouched down to rub his shin as if wishing to ease the pain on his shin. At the same time, he only remembered that the original Ishigami joined football until middle school before he became a loner. Still, it surprised him to know that she knew he had joined a football club, but he remembered that they had been classmates from elementary school till high school. After all, Shuchiin Academy was an escalator school, so it was normal. Moreover, he didn't have a stigma in the beginning, and he was quite popular before he became like this. I was just joking. It's fine. Stop touching my feet like that. Your hand will get dirty. Geez, don't make such a joke, okay? I thought that you were hurt or something. I never expected you to react this way, after all. Still, as he tried to stop her, he held her hand. Onodera also noticed how Ishigami held her hand firmly, trying to stop her, but she couldn't help but blush, feeling the difference in the hand between a man and a woman. His hand might not be muscular and even slender, yet she could tell that it was different from hers, and it was the hand of a man. On the other hand, Ishigami could feel his face slightly hot, feeling helpless due to his puberty. While he was calm, his body couldn't, especially when he held Onodera's hand. Her hand was soft and warm. When he held her, it felt sticky, making him reluctantly let her hand go, but he knew that he had to let her go, so he squeezed her hand twice and then said, "Let's eat. The ice cream is going to melt." Unlike his calm expression, Onodera wasn't sure how her expression would be, but she could tell that her face was so hot. At the same time, she looked at him resentfully, thinking that he was a tsundere. He might act like he didn't feel anything towards her, yet he squeezed her hand twice, clearly showing his interest. Act calm all you want. What's wrong? Nothing. Hearing that spoiled yet annoying voice calmed him down somehow, yet Ishigami had to say that it was so strange, especially when Onodera mocked him this morning, saying mean things, yet now? So, what's your plan? How do you plan to change? You want to know? If possible, I want to help you. Ah, that's the gaze again. Are you looking down on me? No, I'm just surprised that you acted this way toward me. Is it weird? Yet. Onodera. But I don't hate it. Onodera blinked her eyes, then looked at him curiously, thinking that he appeared better than she had thought. What's with those eyes? Hearing this question from him, Onodera chuckled and asked, have someone told you that you are a tsundere? No, I think that I am pretty honest. Onodera felt helpless by his shamelessness, but then she asked once again, so how do you plan to change? Don't try to change the conversation by something else. I know that it might be hard for you to believe me, especially after I told you such mean words, but I really want to help you. She didn't want to feel this heavy and depressed thought anymore, and at the same time, she sincerely wished to help him. Yet, she knew that she had no experience and that supporting him in her own way might bring him trouble instead of helping him. Nevertheless, if there was something that she could do to help, then she would do it. Ishigami looked at Onodera and said, first, I will study hard. Oh, that's basic. I am a student, after all. Onodera nodded, thinking that as a student, their first role was to study, at least Ishigami couldn't be stupid anymore. I will help. Oh, before you look at me with doubt, I am still ranking within the top 50, you know. Really? Ishigami was genuinely surprised. It hurts me if you really show such a surprised expression. No, it's great if you really can help me study. Thank you. And no, it's okay. Onodera felt a little shy when Ishigami thanked her sincerely. But is that all? Are you just going to study? Isn't there something that you want to do? I am not in a hurry. I will live a long life anyway. What about your rumor? It's fine. A high school is only 3 years, so it is nothing. It's not fine. Why did you get so angry? Ishigami looked at Onodera strangely. It hurt you, so I don't think it is fine. When Onodera thought that she was in Ishigami's place, being mocked and told those mean things every day, she just felt like it was too much. Frankly, when she saw many of her classmates and friends come to her, asking her why she became so close to Ishigami and then talked badly about him, she felt angry inwardly and told them that he tried to change, yet watching their expressions, she knew that they wouldn't change their opinion toward him. His stigma was still there, and it was impossible for them to change their opinion so easily. Yet, even so, if possible, she wanted his stigma to be erased and let everyone know that he had changed. More importantly, those who were involved in his incident all lived well. They appeared okay and happy and even made new relationships with others. Yet, here he was, still haunted by the past. Even when he tried to change, no one was supportive and even alienated him. Frankly, she knew that staying with him would make others alienate her, but at this moment, she didn't care. She had seen what kind of a man Ishigami was, and somehow, she just couldn't leave him. Even if she was alone, she would do her best to help him. Only Ishigami wondered why this girl had become like this, but anyway, he had to thank her. Thank you, Onodera. Watching his eyes, he gazed right into her eyes and sincerely thanked her. Onodera blushed, looking away slightly before she timidly looked at him and nodded. It's fine. But calm yourselves. I am fine now, and everything that is done in a hurry won't result in anything. Let's do it slowly. Okay, but I will help you. Onodera had made up her mind, and it was impossible for her to change unless Ishigami pushed her away, yet even if he pushed her away, he believed that she would stick to him. Her feelings weren't love, but probably curiosity that was mixed with something. Yet, every love started with curiosity. She, was different, and you would slowly notice their every action, then before you even realized it, you had completely fallen. Love. What a troublesome feeling. While Ishigami didn't plan to fall in love, he wanted a girlfriend because he wondered what kind of reward the system might give him. Oh, besides studying, I have decided to do something else. What is it? Tell me. Hurry. I want to cut my hair. Like a girl with a broken heart, they would cut their hair so everyone would notice what had happened to them. Ishigami might not like that, but to make a fresh start, a haircut was important, and frankly, long hair was annoying. Onodera blinked her eyes and said, then, let's go. I will pay for it. Ishigami blinked his eyes and thought that it was great to be with a rich girl. Dash. I hope that you guys won't be disappointed since some of you are probably expecting pure love, but there are some of you who wish for my usual style. However, the story of I Am That Male Friend in the Harem story will start off with pure love, okay? Thank you. Chapter 9, Is it a new beginning? What do you think? Oh. Onodera blinked her eyes and looked at Ishigami's new appearance. His long hair was no longer there. It was cut and became short with bangs and slightly messy. It was a bit similar to his haircut during middle school, but as the hairdresser was the one who took care of it, his appearance had risen to several levels, leaving Onodera in awe. I wonder why he keeps that gloomy hairstyle. Fortunately, he had changed, Onodera thought, and somehow, she felt happy, as if she had found a treasure. If he was that gloomy guy before, then at this moment, he would be someone who wouldn't it be weird to have several girlfriends at the same time. While Ishigami didn't have a girlfriend, the hairdresser smiled and teased him. Look, boyfriend-san, your girlfriend is all stiff and shy when she looks at you. Onodera blushed, looking at the hairdresser with resentment. Then, feeling complex, she looked at Ishigami, wondering what he would say. Don't tease her, Lucy-san. While the name was Lucy, Ishigami knew that this hairdresser was a male. Moreover, she isn't my girlfriend. Oh? Then, what's your relationship? She is a girl who tried to hit on me. Hairdresser. Ishigami. If this wasn't public, Onodera would strangle him with a chokehold. Or rather, she would do DDT on him if there was a mattress. I was joking, but she is my classmate. My friend. I see. Lucy nodded. You two must be great friends to go out together like this. Yup. Only Onodera felt strange when Ishigami said that they were friends. She should be happy since he trusted her, but then it felt like she was being treated as a good person by him. However, this was a good improvement from their previous relationship. Frankly, if she were in Ishigami's place, he would doubt her, who gave him unnecessary kindness all of a sudden, so she knew she should be content with their current relationship, and like his previous words, anything that was done in a hurry wouldn't result in something good. Do you want me to put gel on your hair? Lucy asked. I will sleep later, so there is no need to. Okay. Still, Lucy explained to him how to arrange his hair, and he also told him about his YouTube channel and social media, as he often gave tips and tricks on how to arrange a hairstyle. As he explained, he also told some of the hair products that were necessary for him. Ishigami rolled his eyes and knew that Lucy had tried to sell those hair products to him, but he knew that everyone needed money, and he didn't feel unhappy with his advertisement as Lucy hadn't come to him forcefully. However, his pocket money was about 50,000 yen, and while it was a lot, he didn't really want to waste it on hair products, and more importantly, going to the salon wasn't cheap. If he really bought all of those hair products, it wouldn't be weird of him to spend at least several thousand yen. While he didn't mind, his money was in the limit as the previous Ishigami had bought many games previously, which made him helpless. I will buy them. However, Onodera, the wealthy girl, said generously. Ishigami and Lucy. Thank you very much. Lucy also thanked Onodera generously. Ishigami glanced at Lucy silently, thinking that those who could open their own shops in Tokyo definitely weren't simple. His advertisement didn't only work for him but also for Onodera. However, as she was the one who spent money, he didn't say much. Is it okay? Yeah. Onodera nodded. They aren't that expensive anyway. Moreover, it is also good for hair, right? It won't be good if you go bald early. Was this girl cursing him? Still, watching Onodera's mischievous smile, Ishigami could only smile wryly and thanked her once again. Thanks. No problem. Nevertheless, with all of that, Ishigami finished cutting his hair and appeared fresh. He no longer appeared gloomy, and his handsome face was enhanced with his new hairstyle. Please come again, Ishigami-kun. I will. The service and skills were good. Even if it was a little pricey, he didn't mind coming again. What's your plan after this? How about clothes? Or rather, let's get you new clothes. You want to buy it for me? Sure. Onodera nodded. As the eldest daughter of the jewelry company owner, the only thing that she didn't lack was money. No, I have troubled you so much. Even if Ishigami had to admit that it felt great being treated by a girl, more than this was wrong, he was afraid he would walk into the path he couldn't return. At this moment, not only could he become a NEET, but he could also become a gigolo, a man who was supported by a woman. It's fine. Onodera shook her head and said, you don't have to worry about this. Ishigami fell in silence and could see the excitement in her eyes hadn't subdued, and she clearly wished to buy something more for him. If he made a comparison, he might become her dressing doll. However, he didn't mind since he could get brand new clothes for free when he looked at the time. It's already late. Won't your parents worry? Oh, right. Onodera realized that it was quite late. While she had told her parents that she might go home late, what about Ishigami? If she took him quite late, then wouldn't they be worried about him? Sorry, I don't expect that we have spent so much time together. It's fine. I enjoy it. Right. Don't get carried away. Then, how about this weekend? Are you free? You want to go out on a weekend with me? Onodera nodded. Do you have a plan for the weekend? Ishigami blinked his eyes, then shook his head. I don't have one. Then, let's go. Let's get you new clothes. Okay, okay. Ishigami appeared helpless against her excitement. To be honest, I am not that knowledgeable about fashion. Which place do you think we should visit? After a moment of thought, Onodera said, let's go to Shibuya to get clothes for you. Okay, let's talk about the details later. Sure. Onodera nodded and said reluctantly, then I will go back. I will send you off. It's quite late. Onodera smiled sweetly and said, "Thanks. No problem." As the two walked to the taxi stand, she kept talking. He mostly listened while giving her input from time to time, as if telling her that he listened to every one of her stories. While her stories were mostly about the gossip that happened at the school, he didn't mind as it helped him to understand the situation of the school and the influence that was generated by those students. After all, those who were talked to by Onodera definitely had a certain popularity or position in the school, they were definitely not nobody. Frankly, if he hadn't been chosen as a member of the student council, he would have been a nobody, a loner, an unknown, and only spent his high school alone, yet it was probably fine since everyone had their own way of life, and it wasn't like being popular would equal to happiness. Yet, there was no doubt that having someone to talk to, accompany, and share your interest was a happiness. While Onodera might not have lacked money, her parents mostly worked, so they hardly met each other. She might have siblings, but there was something that she couldn't talk about with siblings, so having Ishigami listen to her talk and listen to her made her smile, and she became even more reluctant to leave him. "When you go back, tell me, okay?" "I will." Ishigami nodded. "Tell me when you arrive at your home too." "I will." Onodera smiled from the warmth of his care. "Then, see you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow." As the door closed, Ishigami stood and watched until the taxi disappeared before stretching his hands high. It felt strange somehow. It was just a day he became Ishigami, yet many things happened to him. Let's visit a nearby gym first. While he planned to go home, he decided to visit the nearby gym as he wished to train his body. After he entered, he asked for the price, system and many others, then left, ready to go home, but suddenly, his smartphone vibrated. As he saw an unfamiliar number, he hesitated, but in the end, he accepted the call. "Hello. Ishigami, it's me, Shinomiya Kaguya." "Oh? Senpai? What's wrong?" Ishigami wasn't so stupid as to ask how Kaguya could get his number, but even so, he felt helpless and powerless against Shinomiya Kaguya's power. If he made a comparison, he would be Krillin, then Kaguya would be Frieza. Fortunately, unlike Frieza, Krillin had a beautiful wife. "If I am not wrong, you got a detective to get evidence of that guy's infidelity during your middle school, right?" "I have it." "Then, can you give it to my people?" "I will have sent them to your house." "Okay." Ishigami nodded. "I haven't gone back, though, so they might need to wait for a while." "It's fine." Kaguya didn't mind, but then she asked, "But it's rare of you not to go home as soon as school ends. You don't go out and play around, right? I need to remind you that you can't waste my effort on you. If you can't get the first rank, I will work you harder." "I just cut my hair." "Oh? Did you cut your hair? Can I see it? Send me your photo. You will see me tomorrow anyway." "But I am curious." "Don't be impatient, but what about you, senpai? What are you doing now?" "Me, well." Somehow, their conversation continued, and they kept talking until he reached the station. "When you arrive home, just give it to my people, okay?" "Thank you, senpai. I will book your date plan now." Cough. Cough. Kaguya was startled and lost her calm. "Ishigami-kun, do you have a short memory loss? Isn't that all about your date? You just asked me to help you, right?" While she said so, her voice was slightly heavy and cold. "Oh, right, it seems I said it wrongly." While Ishigami was speechless, he decided to go along. "It's good that you remember now. If not, you don't want to know, okay?" Ishigami. Nevertheless, as their call finished, Ishigami stretched his hands again, leaning on the chair lazily, watching the scenery of Tokyo at night through the window, thinking that his new life was about to start. Still, before that, he made all the reservations for Kaguya's date with Shirogane, or else, he was afraid that his life might not be saved. Yet, what he didn't realize was that many things happened tonight, and his line was bombarded by a certain someone. Dash. Many might wish for more than one chapter a day, but I am quite busy now, so I apologize and just be patient. Chapter 10, Everything is over. When he woke up, Ishigami decided to go for a morning run, and as expected, his physical ability improved. Physical level 1, 12/100. This was just running for half an hour, and at the same time, it also created a running skill for him, running level 1, 25/100. Compared to his physical, his running skills were much easier to raise, he thought. Still, there was no doubt his changes stunned his parents. Watch him drink milk and ask for more protein-based foods as he wanted to get taller. Ishigami Papa looked at his son and asked, "What's wrong? What do you mean?" Ishigami looked at his father strangely, clearly confused by this question. When he met his parents for the first time, he was normal. Yup. He didn't feel awkward or even try to pull away from them. Instead, he was shameless and decided to act like a spoiled boy who got easy money from his papa and mama. While many might think that his act was shameful, he didn't care since the benefits that came from this act were immense. If he could get money from his parents, then why should he work hard? Moreover, he was just a high school student, so there was no need to be in a hurry, trying to do something that he wasn't sure to do. His focus should be on the improvement of skill, physical, mind, and, more importantly, trying to see what kind of reward he could gain from getting a girlfriend. I mean, never mind. Ishigami Papa thought that it was good that his son had decided to improve himself. But as expected, "You are more handsome with short hair," Ishigami Mama said with a sweet smile as she gently caressed her son's head, feeling happy that he wanted to improve. Not only did it work out, but Ishigami's Papa and Mama also had seen their son studying hard last night instead of playing a game. Moreover, Ishigami also woke up early in the morning and started to have a morning run, which made him happy. Hopefully, this would continue instead of just short-term interest, they thought. "It's because my mom is beautiful that I am handsome," Ishigami also said sweetly. At that moment, Ishigami Mama took her wallet and asked, "How much do you want? Is there a new game that you want to buy?" Ishigami Papa looked at his wife, but in the end, he didn't say anything since as long as Ishigami went to school, it was all fine. "I plan to join a gym, so it is about this much." "Gym? 2x. Yes. 2x. The two looked at each other for a while, and then Ishigami Mama took out 10,000 yen for her son. "Take this. You can take the rest." "Okay." There was no hesitation in his actions, and he took the money with a happy smile. "Are you really going to join a gym?" "Yes." "Why so suddenly?" "I want to build muscles." While Ishigami said so, he tried to flex his thin arm. "Go build a muscles then. Do you need more? It would be best if you got an instructor to teach you," Ishigami Papa said, ready to take out another money. Ishigami thought that he was loved much, but then again, as his older brother had become an adult and left home, it was normal for his parents to show all of their care to him. Still hearing about his father's offer, he thought for a while and said, "It's okay. I will just stick to the basics, so it is all fine, and there is a free lesson 3 times after I join. If I need a question, then I will just search the internet or ask those veterans there. The cost of the instructor isn't cheap, and I don't want to waste money. It isn't easy to get money, after all." Ishigami had to beg his two parents and furiously think about how to make them happy, so it wasn't easy for him to get money. How could he waste it? Only when he finished saying so could he feel his two parents staring at him in a daze. "What? No, you are right." Ishigami Papa nodded, thinking that Ishigami really had grown up, then asked, "Do you want to work part-time at my company, you?" "No, no. You should work with my florist part-time, you." Somehow, his two parents stared at each other with a competitive gaze. I don't want to work. I only want pocket money." Only the two of them stared at him with a gentle smile. I will go to school first." "What do you want for dinner?" Ishigami Mama asked. "Hamburger steak." Nevertheless, Ishigami didn't want to work, so he decided to go to school early and then took his smartphone, which kept vibrating. As he saw the one who called him in this goddamn morning, he felt speechless, then asked, "Good morning, boss. Do you need me to do something?" "Oh, I reserved the movie tickets and cafe last night on the weekend." "Who is a boss? Also, thanks for the hard work." While Kaguya was helpless by how Ishigami called her, she was happy when she heard that Ishigami had upheld her promise and prepared it so quickly. "I will start the act during the school break. Kaiko should be working during the break." "Thank you." Kaguya was glad that Ishigami was her junior. "But remember that this isn't about me or Kaiko, okay? It's all about you. We're just helping you. Who is a helpless junior, okay?" "Okay, okay." Ishigami was too lazy to fight Kaguya back. More importantly, there was no point, as with his power, he could do nothing if she wanted to send him to Siberia to plant a potato. By the way, have you seen the school forum? No, is there something? Phew, if so, then just go to school. Okay. Ishigami felt confused and asked, is that all, Shinomiya-senpai? Yes, that's all. After saying so, Kaguya hung up the call, which caused him to look at his smartphone strangely. Still, she wasn't the only one who called him, and he saw many line chats, too, but as he loved his morning quiet, he ignored it and checked it now. Still, as the read notification on the chat logs showed, Onodera called him directly. Ishigami looked at his history and saw how Onodera had called him 20 times and even sent spam 10 times on his line. Good morning, Onodera-san. Still, this time, he didn't ignore her call. Oh, good morning, Ishigami, wait, that's not it. Have you seen the school forum? No, not yet. I slept well and had a quiet breakfast today. How about you? I haven't eaten breakfast. Then, go buy something at the convenience store or other places. It's too far. I have arrived at the school. Then, good luck studying with an empty stomach. How cruel. Shouldn't you offer to buy something on your way to the school? Okay. Who makes me kind and gentle? What do you want? I will treat you to breakfast. After all, Onodera had treated him to so many things yesterday, and it would be too petty of him if he let her get hungry until lunch. Moreover, this was a good investment as he could imagine that she would treat him a lot later on the weekend when they went out to Shinjuku. Thanks. Onodera seemed so happy. Then, onigiri. I want tuna mayo. Is that all? Yes, I don't eat much in the morning. As for the drink, it is fine since I can get it on the vending machine. Then, suddenly, Onodera realized something. Wait a moment. That's not what I want to talk about. Ishigami felt this girl was strange since she seemed to lose control of her from time to time. Ugh, anyway, hurry up and get to school. I want to talk with you. Then, you don't want your tuna mayo onigiri. I want it. Then, wait patiently. Onodera felt that he was playing with her. Anyway, tell me when you come to the school, okay? Okay. After that call, Ishigami thought that he could get a moment of peace, but that wasn't the case. Kaiku. Oh, good morning, Ishigami. Good morning, Kaiku. Do you need me for something? Ishigami felt strange about Shirogane calling him in the early morning. Sorry to bother you, but do you know that the school is talking about your past incident? Oh. Ishigami sat silent for a while and then asked, is it something bad? No, it's something good. Really? You've been through a lot, hey. Somehow, Shirogane appeared to cry. What the heck did Kaguya do? Nevertheless, Shirogane's act of calling him moved him. Even though the cost of cellular service was high and Shirogane's economic situation wasn't good, he still called him, telling him that he was happy that everything was over. Still, even if they didn't explain it clearly, Ishigami put his smartphone back in his pocket and leaned on the wall of the train, watching the scenery of Tokyo quietly, feeling glad that all the stigma bore by Ishigami had disappeared. Chapter 11, Pure, Untainted Love. Ko Ajino. While some might not be familiar with this student, many knew him as Ajino, who was the former president of the drama club of the Shuchian Academy. Moreover, as this student had just transferred recently, their memory of him was still fresh. After all, as someone from the Shuchian Academy, everyone usually had been together from elementary to high school or even the university, so naturally, most people knew each other. Still, if there was a reason why Ajino was also famous except for his identity as the president of the drama club during middle school, it was because he was also involved in Ishigami's incident. Ishigami Yu, Ko Ajino, and Kyoko Otomo. What everyone knew was that Ishigami had a crush on Kyoko, the girlfriend of Ajino, then stalked her before he beat up Ajino. This is what everyone knew and believed, yet somehow, this midnight, everything changed. Not only was the truth about this incident revealed, but the fact that Ajino had slept with many girls, playing them, was also known, and everyone knew how horrible this student was. Many of the girls he played were also being exposed, including their videos, and everything that was involved with him couldn't escape as if someone wanted to see how ugly this person was, destroyed him socially, and left him no path except for suicide. Yet, those who weren't involved just loved knowing the gossip and wanted to learn more. Such a big thing happened, no one could stop it. Moreover, the one behind this exposure was someone that no one could offend no matter what, so they just let it go and let Iino die, thinking that he was stupid to have offended such a dangerous woman. As for Kyoko Otomo, in the eyes of others, this girl had become nothing but a bitch. On the other hand, Ishigami, who was involved and falsely accused, made people feel sorry, and they knew that Iino had threatened him with the porn of Iino. If it was on the original, the fact that Iino porn wasn't omitted and clearly hidden, yet what Kaguya wished was to clear up Ishigami's stigma, and she didn't care about anything else. Even if she destroyed many others, she didn't care as she only cared about her junior. Frankly, this woman was dangerous, Ishigami thought. Kaiku, do your best. Nevertheless, for Ishigami, his morning was quite peaceful. Before going to the school, he bought a tuna mayo and a nigiri for Onodera and then walked slowly as he observed the cityscape on his way to the school. Even though he was the center of everything at that moment, and everyone wanted to search for him, he seemed completely oblivious to everything. At the same time, even if those people tried to search for Ishigami, it was hard as he had changed his hairstyle. In their eyes, he was a gloomy young man with long hair and bangs, so his change made people not notice that it was him. Only a few girls glanced at him, wondering when there was such a cute guy in their school. While some might notice that it was him, they were unsure as they hadn't seen him with short hair for so long. Ishigami. Everyone quickly realized that it was him when Onodera seemed to wait for him at the school entrance. As expected, when her voice fell, everyone was looking at him directly. Good morning, Onodera-san. Ishigami greeted Onodera calmly. Good morning. Wait, this isn't it. Why are you so calm? What's wrong? Will there be an earthquake or something? No, there won't be an earthquake, but let's go to the class first. As Ishigami changed his shoes, Onodera held his hand and pulled him directly as she was a bit embarrassed to be the center of attention. Wait, wait. Don't pull me like that. Tell me, what's happening? Ishigami didn't let Onodera pull him, so he held her, stopping her in a place. Only Onodera blushed, realizing that she had been holding his hand, and he also held her firmly like yesterday. This made her face hotter, but then she also felt sad, thinking about what Ishigami had experienced for the past year. But, you are right. It's a bit embarrassing being seen by so many like this. Let's go to class. While saying so, Ishigami led Onodera to the class, but after squeezing her hand 3 times, he let her hand go. Onodera was speechless, but she only hummed, twirling the drill of her hair with a blush, thinking that this guy was as tsundere as ever. As for being mistaken by others for holding hands, she didn't care, especially when she felt closer to him after yesterday. Instead, there was part of her that wished others would misunderstand, but as he didn't do anything, she didn't take the initiative, only hum as she followed him closely. At the same time, as this happened, she forgot what she wanted to say to him. Oh, right, this is your onigiri. Thanks. Onodera accepted her onigiri with a smile and asked, how much? It's fine. Just treat me next time. Okay. Ishigami was joking, but he didn't expect that Onodera would really treat him to a meal. Still, when they arrived in the class, they were directly surrounded. What's wrong? Why are you all looking at me like that? Ishigami was confused and asked, is it my hairstyle? Who cares about your hairstyle, bastard? Nevertheless, many girls were stunned, as they didn't expect Ishigami to be so handsome after he changed his hairstyle. Only a few of them seemed to be troubled by the fact that Ishigami and Onodera came together. Ishigami, is this the truth? What's wrong? You don't know. If I know, then should I ask you a question? Everyone. Here, read this. One of his classmates suddenly gave him his smartphone. Thanks. Ishigami took the smartphone and read it quietly. Watching him read what was exposed on the school forum, no one said anything, and they just stared at him with a complicated and complex mood, never realizing what kind of pain he had to bear to protect Kyoko Otomo. Iino had a porn of Kyoko, and to protect that, Ishigami decided to endure everything silently and let them mock, disdain, and even bully him. Who did this? Ishigami looked at everyone in a complicated mood. So, is it the truth? Watching his complicated expression, they were sure that this was the truth. Well. As if being troubled, Ishigami couldn't say much. Why didn't you tell the truth? If you tell everyone, then you don't have to bear all of this, right? For some reason, some couldn't understand his actions, wondering whether it was worth it to gain a notoriety to protect such a bitch. Not only did he have to become a shut-in, but he also had to become everyone's trash so they could feel better for themselves, thinking that among them, there was a creep and stalker like him, so no matter what they did, they were better than him. Yet. Isn't it? Ishigami's expression was firm, and they all could see it. I don't want her to know. I want her to be happy, but... His expression was of that forlorn and sad. My hard work seems useless, after all. His eyes, expression, and exhaustion all seemed to be what transpired to everyone. Instead of being happy that everyone knew the truth, he couldn't be happy as his hard work to protect the smile of a single girl had gone down the drain. Love. They could tell this was the feeling Ishigami felt toward the girl, a pure, untainted one who wished for happiness for the other instead of himself. He didn't ask to be paid, and he just truly wished for her to be happy, yet his efforts had failed, and probably the smile of that girl couldn't be seen anymore, but... Why the heck you hug me, bastard? Ishigami looked at the male classmate, who suddenly hugged him. I don't know, but I want to hug you. Ah, me too. Ishigami, if I am a girl, then I will date you. Somehow, all of the male classmates jumped into him and hugged him tightly as if trying to comfort him. Bastard, stop it. Yet, the girls couldn't bear it and cried, especially when they saw his reddened eyes, which he tried to hide. Still, for those who had certain feelings toward him, they wondered what was inside this heart at that moment. Do you still love her? Onodera looked at Ishigami, who was being hugged by everyone. While she felt happy that everything was cleared up, she was anxious to know what he felt toward Kyoko. Yet she wasn't the only one, some of the girls in the class also felt this way. Still, this commotion continued until the teacher came and told everyone to return. Nevertheless, as the class started, Ishigami thought that he might have the talent to become an actor. Dash. The actors are horrible. Chapter 12, My Senpai. But really, who did it? I am not sure, but he might have made someone he shouldn't make an enemy into an enemy. I can tell that for sure. Nevertheless, no one thought that it was Ishigami who did it since they knew his background well. As the second son of the small toy company, was it possible for him to do all of this? More importantly, when they thought of his attitude, who could bear all the infamy to protect the girl he loved? The thought of him exposing everything so his innocence was known never existed in their minds. Ishigami could become a creepy stalker in everyone's eyes for so long, so they didn't think that they would think he would do all of this. Nevertheless, due to this widespread news, the school was filled with discussion of his situation, and his classmates, who heard his answer, couldn't wait to tell everyone about what he did, making them know what he did to protect the innocence and the smile of a single girl. Still, he had expected this since high school students were curious creatures that had nothing to do. Except for the necessary study, there was hardly anything to do, and not every day could be fun for everyone, so when there was a commotion, they would follow it subconsciously. It was like when everyone followed the hot news, like the infidelity of a celebrity, and talked about it even though it had nothing to do with their lives. Still, while what had happened to him was troublesome, it was far better than having a status as a creep and a stalker. As for the two people who were affected by his innocence, Ishigami didn't care much. Anyway, the two of them were already in different schools, but he knew it was impossible for them to leave unscathed from this incident. Ishigami, do you have lunch together? Your treat. My treat. Come on. If there was something that changed the most, it would be everyone's attitudes toward him. As expected, like Onodera, who wished to be his help, everyone was the same as their hearts were filled with guilt, thinking what horrible things they had done to him, so to ease their guilt, they tried to woo him, doing something good for him for their self-satisfaction. While this might seem selfish and even ugly, it gave him a good thing, so it didn't matter, and frankly, this was how a relationship worked in society. So, Ishigami had to admit that having something genuine was nice, yet for him, who also couldn't give something genuine, he shouldn't expect much. Sorry, I have to work on the student council. Treat me tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow. I will treat you. Go work hard on the student council. Excuse himself, Ishigami left his class, but Onodera followed him under the gaze of a few. Ishigami. What's wrong, Onodera-san. Onodera hesitated, then said, let's talk later. Okay. Ishigami nodded. I will send you a chat later. Don't forget. Watching Onodera, who sulked, clearly remembered that he had forgotten to chat with her yesterday, Ishigami nodded with an embarrassed smile. Okay, okay. If I forget, you can send me a chat later. I will do that. In the worst case, Onodera thought that she could call him. Still, watching a few girls whose thoughts started to change after they knew what Ishigami did, she frowned, feeling slightly restless, as if everyone also discovered the important treasure that she had happened to discover. Yet, Onodera wasn't the only one who thought so, since few girls also thought that Onodera was like others, those who changed their minds after they knew the truth. Still, could they even blame Onodera even after their previous act after Ishigami's accident? Nevertheless, knowing the truth, like any others, they wished to make up with Ishigami. Is that a girl you like? If I am not wrong, her name is Onodera Rei, right? Ishigami looked at Kaguya, who came out from her hiding place, clearly peeking at his interaction with Onodera. Senpai, peeking isn't a good hobby, you know. Kaguya blushed and said, I am just wondering how you react after all of this. As they talked, they walked toward the student council room together, talking about the event that happened at the school. With Kaguya's help, it was easy for Ishigami's infamy to disappear, and he became a warrior of love who dared to bear everything to protect the girl he loved while also causing those who hurt him to have their reputation and situation turned into shit. Thank you, senpai. No problem. Kaguya smiled softly when she heard Ishigami's heartfelt and sincere thanks, knowing how grateful he was, but also, I am sorry. Kaguya was stunned as she didn't expect an apology from Ishigami, and she asked in confusion, why did you apologize? I have made you hurt others, after all. Ishigami showed an expression of shame and guilt toward Kaguya. While it was true that everything that Kaguya did was correct and helpful, as she only told the truth about what Ishigami did, in exchange, she hurt the others. Even those people who were hurt were someone who deserved to be punished. Ishigami wasn't sure how Kaguya felt when she hurt other people. Was she okay? Was she uncomfortable? Was she hurt, too? While Ishigami didn't care about the two people who had caused his life to be a mess, he cared about Kaguya, who had helped him. Hearing his words, Kaguya was stunned, then showed a gentle smile as she stretched her hand toward Ishigami's cheek. Your new haircut suits you well. Senpai. Ishigami, do you think I am a good person? Ishigami looked at Kaguya, who asked him such a question, then nodded. I do. For him, Kaguya was a kind and gentle senior who helped him, yet Kaguya thought of herself differently. But I am not. I am not a good person. This is nothing to me, so you don't have to worry about me. Unlike an average person, as someone who was born into the Shinomiya family, it was impossible for her to become a good person. Kaguya had to learn to use others, and she couldn't be kind to others, or else she would be swallowed. In her mind, she had always been the worst kind of woman. She wanted Ishigami to change his opinion of her so he wouldn't be disillusioned that she was a Virgin Mary who would help everyone in need. Only Kaguya was stunned when she saw that Ishigami smiled. Senpai, you are cute. Kaguya blushed and felt speechless, but at the same time, she also felt embarrassed, feeling that her reminder was being ignored by this junior of hers. Still, she was stunned when her small and slender hand was held by his hand. I am not sure about the others you since Kaguya-senpai, whom I know, is the one in front of me. You might be a little strict, but I know you wish me the best. There might be another face of you that I don't know, and you might think I am naive for thinking like this, but in my eyes, you are the gentlest senpai. Ishigami. Kaguya felt her eyes were slightly red, but somehow, she didn't want to show it and quickly said, even if you said that, I won't lessen your study. Ah, can you lessen it for a bit? No. Kaguya smiled, watching his comical expression. If you want to impress the girl you like, you should show your effort, okay? Will she even look at me when I show my effort? Kaguya blushed, watching his playful expression, and knew that she was being teased by him again. Stop teasing me. She pulled his ear directly, showing her majesty as a senior. Ah, senpai, it hurts. Don't pull my ear. Is it hurt? Kaguya felt she didn't feel she had put much effort into pulling his ear. But it feels good. Pervert. I was joking. Don't look at me with those eyes. Really? 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 As they had their banter, while Kaguya didn't realize it, she thought of him as someone she could trust, and at the same time, she thought of him as someone who was important in her life. Someone who made her smile daily. Yet. Are you ready? Ishigami asked. I am. Watching his willingness to help her deepen her relationship with her loved one, Kaguya hesitated, wondering what Ishigami's true feelings were. I have to help him. Kaguya knew that she couldn't give her feelings toward him, yet there were many ways for her to help him. Nevertheless, Ishigami wasn't sure what this senior of his was thinking, and even if he knew, he would roll his eyes. As he thought so, Ishigami pushed the door open and saw Shirogane, who was already inside. Oh? Ishigami? Shinomiya. Naturally, Shirogane noticed the two, but this time, he didn't have much thoughts about the two since. Kaiku, can I discuss something with you? Dash. By the way, let me remind you once again that this novel doesn't have a mix of many works. It will be a complete Kaguya fanfic until he finishes this world. When this world is finished, you can ask what world would you want me to enter. Gotubun, Saikano, Yusuke no Sora, Amigami SS, Scum's Wish, Oji no Ko, etc. As long as it is a romance, and there aren't any supernatural actions, then MC can be in any world. Comment. 65 Comment. Vote. Chapter 13, Ishigami is ready to become a sacrifice. You are in love with someone. Shirogane almost spat out the tea in his mouth as he looked at Ishigami in shock. Yet, Ishigami was unfazed and nodded softly. Yes, I am in love with someone, senpai. Shirogane was in a daze, feeling a bit ashamed by how he felt embarrassed and didn't dare to express his love, yet here Ishigami was, telling how he was in love with someone like a man. Falling in love wasn't something embarrassing, after all. It was a natural emotion that everyone could feel, so there was no need for Ishigami to feel embarrassed. Still, Kaguya, who knew this was just an act, also couldn't help but be embarrassed, feeling that Ishigami was really gusty. I know that telling you this might trouble you. As Ishigami appeared embarrassed, Shirogane quickly said, No, no. It's fine. If there is anything that we can help with, please let us know. He also had fallen in love, and he also understood how hard it was to fall for others, especially with the matter of expressing his feelings. As he thought so, he couldn't help but glance at Kaguya, and Kaguya also happened to glance at him. Their eyes happened to meet, and they quickly looked away, feeling their faces were hot and embarrassed. Still, Ishigami sighed, wondering, shouldn't they just date already? Yet, he also knew that dating wasn't so simple. If people could read each other's minds, it would be fine, but one couldn't, after all, and it would be impossible to tell what the others thought about us. So, the only way for people to understand each other's feelings was to express their feelings. If their feelings were mutual, then it was great, but if it wasn't? Well, in modern dating, even if one doesn't feel the same, sometimes, people start dating each other, and love isn't the only reason why people date. So, there was no doubt watching the simple and genuine affection between Kaguya and Shirogane, there were some longings within Ishigami's heart, but he quickly suppressed his feelings since, at this point, having affection for someone was troublesome. His thought at this moment was to improve himself and try to check his system. Yes, his purpose might be impure, but there were no rules that an impure feeling couldn't become genuine, right? Still, he might say a lot, but he didn't have a girlfriend, so he might as well think about those complicated matters when he had one. Thank you, Kaiku. Ishigami showed a shy smile, then took a deep breath. I know that I will trouble you, but there is something that I want you two to do for me. What is it? Shirogane asked curiously. Yet, Kaguya had to admit that Ishigami's acting skill was just too great, right? I want to take a girl on a date, but I am not confident with my plan. Like an ordinary virgin boy who was worried about whether he could do well on his date, Ishigami expressed his concern. I have made my plan, so can you two try to test whether this date plan is good or not? Shirogane was stunned before his face flushed red, and his heart was beating so hard. Didn't this mean he was going on a date with Kaguya? Ishigami had asked for their help to try his dating plan, and by using this plan, Shirogane could go on a date with Kaguya in a natural way. While all of this was in the name of helping his junior, the fact that he would go on a date with Kaguya didn't change. Ishigami. Shirogane wanted to cry and hugged Ishigami tightly with happiness. I have bought the tickets and reserved the cafe. You two can just go on the weekend right away. Naturally, I pay for everything since I am asking for your help, but what do you think? Can you? When Ishigami asked so, he appeared nervous, as if afraid the two would reject him. While Shirogane was nervous when he thought of going on a date with Kaguya for the first time, he didn't want to worsen Ishigami, who appeared nervous. He knew that Ishigami must have used all of his courage to ask this request, and as his senior, naturally, he would do his best to help him. Still, frankly, he wanted to go. Nevertheless, Shirogane had to admit that it was a bit embarrassing. I don't mind, but what do you think, Shinomiya? While Kaguya had prepared for all of this, she had to admit that when the real thing happened, she was also embarrassed, but I don't mind either. Still, Kaguya didn't want to appear that she was so clingy to Shirogane. It's all for Ishigami, after all, so it can't be helped. Yeah, it can't be helped. Shirogane also nodded. Watching the two pretend as if nothing special was happening, Ishigami rolled his eyes, feeling helpless and a bit tired to play as a cupid between the two. However, it wasn't like he didn't want to, since this was a way for him to repay their kindness for him. If the two weren't there, Ishigami would still be a shut-in and have this stigma continuously. If the two could be happy, there was no doubt the previous Ishigami would also be happy. Then, here you go. This is the date plan. As Ishigami explained his date plan to the two, Kaguya and Shirogane nodded repeatedly, remembering everything as they decided to help him in many ways. Still watching Kaguya, who pretended to know nothing, Ishigami was speechless, but he didn't say much since as long as she was happy, everything was good. Nevertheless, when everything went in a smooth direction, sometimes, something couldn't work as they wished. While everything was clear, and what was left was only for Shirogane and Kaguya to go on a date directly during the weekend, at this moment, they forgot the element of chaos on the student council. The members of the student council had never been 3 people but 4 people. There was another person besides Ishigami, Kaguya, and Shirogane, and this one person broke the harmony between the 3. The door was opened so abruptly, stunning the 3 of them, yet this figure who suddenly entered didn't seem to have any guilt or regret on her face. What was shown on her face was only a bright, excited, and slightly idiotic smile. Appearing in a silly detective costume and even a small pipe on her lips, a cute girl with pink wavy hair and a well-developed body appeared before the 3, causing them to be stunned. Detective Chika is here. Fujiwara Chika smiled sweetly like a pink Power Ranger who came in to help those who were in need during a villain attack. I smell the intense smell of love. I am here to help that person who is in love. Whether it was Ishigami, Kaguya, or Shirogane, all of them could only open their mouths wide, feeling confused and also annoyed. Why the heck are you here at the moment? 3x. Yet, Chika had never been the sharpest blade. She was so dull that one might even think that her head was all filled with cotton candy, which was sweetly stupid. However, in the moment of crisis, the same opponent appeared before them. The 3 of them gained a tacit understanding and quickly hid their hidden plan. At the same time, Ishigami knew he had to sacrifice himself to protect Kaguya and Shirogane. Where is it? Where is that lost lamb who has fallen in love? Detective Chika is ready to help you. Like a shark that smelled the scent of blood, nothing could escape from the eyes of Chika. So, whether Shirogane or Kaguya wanted to cry, especially when Ishigami raised his hand painfully, sacrificing himself for the 2. Here, the lost lamb is here. Ishigami. 2x. Dash. By the way, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I am not into Hoshino AI from Oji no Ko that much. Oji no Ko aside, since there are a lot of beautiful mature women, I don't think that Hoshino AI is that special heroine. She is beautiful, and many love her. I can't deny that, but in reality, she is just a normal dumb girl. While dating and having fun is possible, taking responsibility for things such as marriage is hard, especially when all the heroines in the Shuchiin Academy are far better than AI in terms of status, brain, and other things. Some might say AI is more beautiful, but even so, that's her only advantage. If you were Ishigami's parents, would you let Ishigami marry AI or the heroines of the Kaguya, whose appearance isn't much worse and whose love wasn't worse than AI's but much smarter, and have parents who are wealthy, influential, and powerful? While I won't deny that it might be interesting to make Kaguya mix with Oji no Ko, what do you think? Should I press forward? Chapter 14, Detective Chika is inexperienced in love. It was said the most stable shape was a triangle, so when Ishigami became the lead and Shirogane and Kaguya followed him, everything went clear, but when Chika entered, everything was in chaos. The square was nice, but this square was uncontrollable, and no one knew what kind of effect this one point would have on the three. Yet, like a true hero, Ishigami didn't hesitate. He stepped forward bravely, ready to face the chaotic element that threatened to disrupt their stability, all to protect his two seniors. At that moment, Shirogane and Kaguya wanted to cry, as they could see Isahigami's determination to sacrifice himself for the two. While Ishigami faced Chika, he didn't forget the two. Feeling his eyes on them, Shirogane and Kaguya nodded, knowing what to do, so when Chika's attention was on Ishigami, the two slipped away directly and went out from the student council room. Still. Shinomiya. Yeah, yes, Kaiku. See you this weekend. Why yes. The two blushed as they anticipated their date this weekend. Oh, wrong, they just wanted to help their cute junior, who was nervous about his dating plan. Still, as they parted ways, Kaguya wondered why she wasn't as happy as she thought to be. On the other hand, as Ishigami sacrificed himself, he had to face this silly devil who loved to toy with others. I see. I see. It's you, Ishigami. But you don't have to worry. Chika appeared like a hero who came to help those who were in need, patting her chest proudly, and declared, since Detective Chika is here, everything is going to be all right. Chika ignored Ishigami's doubt since it was normal for the right to be doubted. This was her debut, so her qualifications were unknown, yet with her ability, talents, and brilliant mind, she believed she could become a cupid for her cute junior. Still, before she discussed Ishigami's love, watching him change his hairstyle into short hair, she thought that this guy didn't appear bad at all, and at the same time. By the way, I heard what was happening. You are such a good boy, Ishigami-kun. Patting his head softly, Chika smiled warmly, thinking what this junior of hers did for the girl he loved. If it was someone else, could they do something similar like Ishigami? For love, Ishigami could sacrifice his reputation and school life. If it wasn't because of the exposing accident that happened on the school forum, then no one probably knew what he did. Chika felt her eyes were a little wet somehow and felt a bit jealous of the girl who could have a man who could sacrifice so much for her, but then, this matter aside, as Ishigami had fallen in love with someone else, she would help and support him. In the name of Detective Chika, she made such a vow. Even the students in your grade also heard it. Ishigami asked weirdly. Of course. Chika nodded. I think that no one in the school knows what you do. It is fortunate that you change your hairstyle, or else you will be treated like a panda in the Ueno Zoo. Everyone in this school has nothing to do. I agree. Ishigami looked at Chika and wondered how she could say something so shameless since she was also included among those who had nothing to do. By the way, I know it is a bit late. What's wrong, Ishigami-kun? If you want my help, Detective Chika is ready to accept any love advice. How long are you going to pat my head? Ishigami felt that this girl was too rude for patting his head like this. Was he a little child? If he wanted to, he could have a child. Aren't you happy? Chika looked at Ishigami strangely. You have such a cute, beautiful girl like me patting your head. Shouldn't you be happy? Ishigami was at a loss for a while, wondering how this silly girl could be so confident. Still, pushing her away and stopping her was too easy. Instead of stopping her, he felt he should take advantage of this situation. Only a head pat. What do you mean? How about a hug? As he said so, Ishigami opened his arms wide as if waiting for Chika to hug him. Chika blinked her eyes and blushed. She might have had a fierce attack, but as she had given all of her points into an attack, her defense was relatively weak, so at that moment of counterattack, she could feel her face was already hot. Why you want a hug? Well, you seem embarrassed, so it is fine if you don't want to. Who is embarrassed? The sun is just too intense, and my skin is just too sensitive. Come here. Let me hug you. Being underestimated, of course, Chika couldn't accept it. Moreover, she was his senior. How dared this brat look down on her? As she said so, Chika also opened her arms wide, looking at him as if trying to provoke him. There was no way a virgin like him dared to do something so bold, right? Ishigami looked at Chika strangely and asked, Are you sure? Yes. Chika then showed a smug expression and asked, Or you don't dare, Cherry-kun. This girl. Ishigami was helpless, but then he looked at Chika with a determined expression, slowly and steadily approaching her, ready to hug her. Ah! Chika couldn't react, especially when Ishigami really dared to hug her. Frankly, as he approached her slowly, she could escape and even push him away, but in the end, she accepted him. Still, his hug was gentle, and she could feel that he was trying to be polite. As expected of a virgin. Well, she was a virgin too, so she couldn't say much toward Ishigami, but as they had done this, there was no need to hesitate, right? So, when he clung to her, she also clung to him as if telling him that it was okay to hug her a little harder. While she didn't expect him to understand her intention, it seemed she underestimated him since he hugged her even tighter that she felt almost suffocated, yet strangely enough, this wasn't bad, and watching him, burying his face in her chest, appeared in a low-spirited, she sighed helplessly and felt like, she couldn't just leave him alone. Geez, how can you hug me like this? While Chika was embarrassed, she softly patted Ishigami's head, letting him embrace her body and even buried his face on her chest. She could tell he needed someone the most, and as her senior, she thought she should support him a bit as she could tell he had encountered many things. Yes, as his senior. In the beginning, she might be embarrassed, but after a while, she got used to the feeling of being hugged by him and also started to feel relaxed. Strangely enough, hugging each other like this also felt nice, and she had to say, his scent was quite nice. It was relaxing, she thought. Yet, when Ishigami hugged Chika, he couldn't help but show his weak side since he had to admit that everything that happened to him had overwhelmed him. While it was good that he got a second chance, he would be lying if he wasn't worried about anything. Having a new identity, a new family, and many other things. More importantly, he was alone. However, as a man, he didn't want to show his weakness, and he had to be strong since he had become Ishigami, and unlike the previous Ishigami, he didn't want to settle for being ordinary. He might say that he could become a NEET and become a parasite for his parents and older brother, but in reality, it was impossible for him to do so. Yet, Chika's mischief gave him a slight comfort, and he just couldn't help but let himself be comforted by this silly girl. However, when he woke up, feeling the softness on his chest and the gentle scent of a girl, he quickly woke up and pushed her as he lowered his head and apologized. I am sorry for the inconvenience that I have caused, senpai. Chika was startled by his reaction and quickly said, It's fine. I am the one who teased you, after all. You don't have to worry. Ishigami blinked his eyes and asked, then, can I hug you once more? Don't get ahead of yourself. Chika blushed and lightly tapped Ishigami's head. It hurts. Ishigami let go of Chika and held his head, pretending that Chika's tap was hurt. Chika pouted, but she wouldn't be swayed by him anymore since she could tell that he was acting. She came from a family of politicians, so naturally, her skill at reading people was high, especially when Ishigami's acting was so bad. If only Ishigami knew what Chika thought. By the way, are you sure that you want to help me with my love life? Chika fell into silence and wasn't in the mood anymore to help Ishigami with his love life, especially after they had hugged each other like that. She knew that she just helped him, comforting him when he was at his weakest, but when she thought he would go into the arms of another girl again after this, she was furious. What was she? Was she just a pillow used for comfort? I was joking. I didn't fall in love with anyone. Chika looked at Ishigami in doubt and asked, are you sure? Yes. You are not lying. I am not. You don't fall in love with me, right? What do you think? Ishigami was speechless, but Chika said, but you know? It's normal to fall in love with me since I am a perfect heroine of Shuchin Academy. Ishigami fell in silence, wondering how someone could be so narcissistic. What's with those eyes? Chika, who was sharp, quickly noticed Ishigami's eyes. Nothing. I know that you make fun of me. No. I think you are right. You are the perfect heroine of the Shuchin Academy. Like any good man, Ishigami never tried to fight against a woman since he knew it was meaningless. Yet, in Chika's eyes, this guy made fun of her. But, have you fallen in love before, senpai? Ishigami asked curiously. Chika's face quickly reddened, then she looked away and said, it's a secret. In other words, no. Still, Ishigami's questions had yet to end. Have you dated someone? Chika. Have you gone on a date with someone? Chika. So, How can Detective Chika give love advice? Ishigami asked politely. Ishigami-kun. Chika looked at Ishigami, and it was her first time knowing that he could be such a tease. Even if he just asked her a standard question, as she could not answer all of those questions, she felt like she was being made fun of. Still, no matter how annoyed and furious she was, she didn't know how to answer this question. Ishigami-kun, have you gone on a date? Oh, no, I can tell that you haven't. Aren't you the same? Chika gritted her teeth with a blush of shame and then asked, then, how about we go on a date? Ha! Watching his flustered expression, Chika felt as if she had won. It's for studying. Training. As your senior, no, as a detective Chika, it is my duty to teach those who aren't good at love. Ishigami blinked his eyes and asked, are you sure? What? You don't want to? Chika asked with a pout, feeling unhappy since many guys would be happy if they could go on a date with her. No, if you want to help me, then I am happy. Watching his sincere smile, Chika blushed, feeling her heart race slightly. No, no. How can Ishigami make my heart race like this? She felt so frustrated since she was the one who had always been messed up by him. Or rather, she wanted to have revenge, making him flustered and blush like how a virgin was. Then, it is decided. Chika made up her mind and asked, are you free this Sunday? Yeah. Then, let's go on Sunday. Try to set up a dating plan, or rather surprise me. Then, in the end, I will score your love score. What the heck is a love score? Ishigami was speechless, then nodded. I will make you happy. Chika felt embarrassed by his sincere words, but she was pleased by his honesty. Good. I can't wait for Sunday. Do your best. As she said so, she patted Ishigami's shoulder like an experienced elder, then left the student council but stopped and said, oh, don't forget to come 15 minutes earlier from the date appointment. Can we just exchange our line? Sure. The two changed their contact info, too, before they parted ways. Watching Chika, who left and appeared to be embarrassed, Ishigami looked at Chika's silly line photo profile on his smartphone, feeling strange as he just made a date plan with Chika. Still, who was his target for a girlfriend? Frankly, it could be anyone since he hadn't fallen in love, and as long as the girls were cute and part of the story, he was fine with anyone. Ishigami knew that he might appear irresponsible, but it wasn't like he could succeed if he just focused on a single girl, and similar to fishing, he should move around instead of staying in a single spot. As for his feelings, he could slowly fall for that someone when they started dating. While he was thinking about his dating plan with Chika, someone suddenly called his name. Ishigami. Stopping his steps, he turned and saw someone unexpected. Dash. Love or situation. Enjoy no matter the situation with your loved one, or enjoy a comfortable life without your loved one. While I know that it might sound materialistic, for some people, having a comfortable life is much better than living a hard life with one they love, but then again, I can't deny someone who wishes to live for love no matter how hard it is since it is wonderful in its own way. It would be better if we could get both, but most of us can't, so we have a fantasy, right? Well, regardless, I have made up my mind not to mix the world of Kaguya and Oji no Ko since it is quite troublesome to make Ishigami enter the entertainment industry, so please wait until he enters the world of Oji no Ko. Thanks. Chapter 15, How We Used to Be. Iino. The familiar short girl with brown hair, which she tied in pigtails, appeared before him. Still, this was weird, especially when the class was about to start, and considering how rigid and good a student this girl was. Ishigami knew this girl well, and she should have been entering the class at that moment as it was impossible for her to come late, yet here she was, appearing on his way when he was about to go back as if she had been waiting for him. What's wrong? Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? About what was happening. In Ishigami's silence, the girl's face twisted with a mix of emotions and tears streaming down her cheeks. She was clearly in pain, her feelings complex and hesitant. It was evident that she was desperate to know why he had kept this problem from her. Before the incident that happened to him, their relationship was so close to each other. In middle school, he had no one after he quit the soccer club, and Iino also had no one due to her stuck-up personality. They happened to be together, often talking and supporting each other silently. However, when that incident happened, everything changed and they parted ways. If only you told me, then. If only Ishigami had told her, then would their relationship have changed? But how could I tell you? Ishigami looked at Iino with a helpless expression and said, if I told you that someone told me that I could sleep with that girl if I kept quiet about these wrongdoings, how would you respond? If it had been before, Ishigami wouldn't have said all of this, but as he wasn't the original Ishigami and everything was exposed, there was nothing wrong with saying everything. Yet, frankly, whether the original Ishigami or Iino, the two of them were nothing but children at that time. While Iino was stuck with her idea and completely broken that she couldn't bend, the original Ishigami also wasn't sure how to face the problem that he encountered in middle school, especially when he was being slandered in front of everyone and suddenly became a bad guy in everyone's eyes. If the original Ishigami could trust Iino at that time, it might have been great since he wouldn't be alone and would have someone to support him. However, the original Ishigami also wished to keep everything hidden since he didn't want the reputation of the girl he once loved to be tarnished by being exposed by the bastard who slandered him. Nevertheless, this matter was already over, and Ishigami knew that it wouldn't be a bad idea to mend his relationship with Iino. To be honest, even now, I am not even sure whether my decision at that time was correct or not. No, you are not wrong, you are not wrong. However, it was impossible for Iino to feel happy with Ishigami's decision. Rather, she didn't feel that the girl was worthy of Ishigami's effort and sacrifice. If it isn't for her. Yet, she didn't deny him since she knew if someone was affected the most by this incident, it would be Ishigami, who had tried his best to endure everything. Still, she was glad for whoever it was who had exposed the truth. If this person didn't expose the truth, she would remain blind and know nothing. Thank you. No, it's okay. Even so, Iino knew that she shouldn't deny him, but after that, what should she do? While Ishigami wasn't sure what Iino was thinking, if he knew he could only look away, pretending that everything had nothing to do with him, but then again, let's just finish this matter since it was all in the past, and he was no longer the previous Ishigami. Oh, the class starts. The sound of the ringing bell echoed within the school, telling all of them that the next class was about to start. Wipe away your tears. What if someone thinks that I am bullying you? I know. Yet, even if Iino tried to wipe her tears, they kept falling from her eyes. As for the class, while she cared about that before, she didn't care about it now. At this moment, she wondered what would happen between her and Ishigami. Would it end just like this? Just like this? Then, nothing had changed. Frankly, unlike the others who had persecuted him, Iino tried her best to defend Ishigami, yet with her nature, how could she tell him that she had done all of that? More importantly, she didn't help him because she wanted to get his gratitude. At the same time, she wondered how Ishigami felt toward that girl. Did his love remain? I don't want that. When she thought about that possibility, her heart felt almost crushed that she couldn't breathe. Facing this hateful guy, she should just ignore him, but the thought of him going out and becoming close with one girl after another made her annoyed and irritated. However, her feelings were impossible to express. No words came out of her lips, and she just wiped her tears, which couldn't stop no matter how many times she wiped them. Geez, you are so handful. Iino was stunned when her tears were wiped by Ishigami, and due to his action, her tears stopped naturally. Yet, Ishigami, who touched Iino's face and cheeks, felt that they were soft. Probably as soft as Chika's chest, but if he dared to say that, he was sure that he would be killed, so he would just remain silent. As he did this intimate action, Iino didn't do anything and just stared at his face in a daze with a cute blush that slowly spread from her cheeks to her ears. She didn't wear makeup, and her face was all natural. Still, her base was good, so even if she didn't wear makeup, everything was okay. Her rosy cheeks, pale white skin, and small cherry lips. Ishigami realized this girl was more charming than he had thought. He couldn't help but stare at her in a daze as he softly caressed her cheek. Ishigami. When her mosquito-like voice was heard, Ishigami quickly realized what he was doing. I am sorry, Iino. As he apologized, he sighed inwardly, wondering whether he was so thirsty. It's fine, it feels good. Iino had to admit that it felt good being touched, and his slightly aggressive eyes made her heart race so hard. What was wrong with this guy? Iino felt that Ishigami had changed so much, but she didn't hate this change. It feels good. Ishigami looked at Iino weirdly, then decided to tease her for a bit. Pervert. I am not. You are the one who is a pervert. You kept touching my face. How could Iino accept Ishigami's slander? So naturally, she had to fight back. With a slightly teasing tone, Ishigami said softly, I wonder what those students you reproach would think when they know that their strict public morals committee member would get excited over this. Iino felt her body hot, thinking of a lewd plot in those obscene books that she had collected from those bad students. When Iino thought that such a plot would happen to her and was done by Ishigami, she felt like, let's go back. Stop thinking about something perverted. As Ishigami pulled Iino's pointy nose lightly, he turned and walked toward the class. Frankly, this conversation was dangerous, and if someone happened to hear them. Fortunately, they were alone, which made him sigh in relief. Yet, this also made him wonder whether this girl was a masochist. Still, he had to say that this girl was a little too easy, right? As he thought so, Iino quickly chased after him. I am not. She wanted to bite this bastard who kept teasing her, but then she got worried and asked, but we're already late. Are we going to be okay? She had been a good girl, so when she realized she was about to enter the class late, she couldn't help but feel worried. While Ishigami was speechless by her concern, he said, leave that to me. You only need to nod and follow my lead. Oh okay. Iino was in doubt, but she nodded obediently. Naturally, when they came to the class, they became the center of attention, and the teacher asked why they were late. There was a little problem on the student council, and she happened to help me. I see. Please sit down. Thank you, sensei. 2x. Unlike his reputation, Iino's was flawless. She was a good student in the eyes of teachers and also had the first rank in the entire grade. As long as Ishigami used Iino's name, everything would be all right. See. Watching him look at her with a complacent wink, Iino pouted and blushed lightly as her heart raced, thinking about the bad thing they had done, but she didn't say anything since they were in the middle of class. Nevertheless, she was happy inwardly because she felt their relationship had returned to how it used to be. Or they might even become closer, so as Ishigami walked away, Iino stared into his back and smiled softly. However, when she was happy, some people weren't happy. Chapter 16, Burn Brightly. Karaoke. Yup. Your treat. Okay, okay. If you come, then it is my treat. Thank you very much. If it was free, Ishigami was fine with it. Yes, his money was still brimming after he helped Kaguya set up a date with Shirogane, considering she repaid him several times the money he used to prepare their date, but he wanted to remain frugal as he would go out with Onodera and Chika during the weekend. Going with two girls over the weekend definitely wouldn't be cheap, so Ishigami had to prepare his ammunition. Moreover, he wanted to buy pants and shoes, so he knew he had to prepare his money. Nevertheless, it had only been 2 days since he was in this world, and he wanted to experience many things and visit many places, so when he saw a chance to do all of that without even using money, he was all for it. Still, those who joined to go to the karaoke were not only the boys but also the girls. You are also going, Onodera. What? You don't want to? Onodera smiled and asked, or are you not confident with your singing skills? Ishigami was speechless, but being provoked instead of accepting this challenge, he remained modest. To be honest, I am not that good at it. When he said so, he looked at his singing skills from his system. Singing level 3, 3/100. While his singing skills weren't that impressive, they were at least at the level of a professional. Nevertheless, as he had been with the system for a day, he understood that skill at level 1 meant an amateur, level 2 meant a low-tier professional, level 3 was a top-tier professional, level 4 meant that one above many, and level 5, the maximum level, meant that he could become a historical figure on the respective field. At the same time, he also realized that the skills that he had harnessed in his previous lives could help him to raise the level of the chosen skills faster, like acting, which suddenly became level 4. It might be weird, but in his previous life, he had been living a fake life, acting since it eased his life. So, in this life, he hoped to live genuinely, yet he had to say a habit was hard to erase, and he often acted so he could smooth out all the troubles in his life, which made him sigh helplessly. Nevertheless, let's put this matter aside, as he was going to show everyone the singing skill that he trained when he took a bath last night. Still, as Ishigami joined this trip to karaoke, everyone was excited and ready to make up for all the mistakes they had made, only the participant of a certain someone surprised all of them. I will join too. Iino suddenly said. While they were surprised, no one said much since this invitation was given to everyone in the class. The majority might have joined, but there was also a minority who had declined. Many thought that Iino would be included in the minority, yet she decided to join, but no one said much. Nevertheless, Onodera couldn't help but ask Ishigami, "Are you close with Iino, Ishigami?" "I can't say we're close, but before the incident, we often hung each other." Really? Onodera was surprised, but before she could ask him a question, Iino approached Ishigami. "What's with that expression? You don't want me to join?" "I don't mind, but can you even sing?" Ishigami asked. "I am much better than you." Iino, who was being underestimated, couldn't afford to lose face and directly said that she could. Yet, inwardly, she thought about what kind of song she should sing since she hardly listened to music. Yes, she might often wear earphones, but what she listened to wasn't music but the comforting voice of a handsome voice actor. As she was in doubt, Ishigami said, "Don't force yourselves." "I am not. Anyway, can you even sing?" "I can sing an anime song." Ishigami was a famous otaku anyway, so it didn't matter. "Oh, I can sing Full Metal Alchemist song with you," Onodera suddenly said, interrupting their conversation. "Did you watch Full Metal Alchemist, Onodera?" Ishigami asked with surprise. "Yes." Watching the two start to talk, Iino felt like she was ignored, but before she was about to interrupt them, her only friend came and asked, "Are you sure that you are going, Iino?" "I am going." Iino nodded at Kobachi Ozaragi. "What about you, Koba-chan?" When she asked this, she looked hopeful since, if possible, she didn't want to be alone as it would be her first time to be in karaoke. As if being forced on and appearing helpless, Kobachi nodded. "Okay, I will go with you." "Thanks." Still, Kobachi glanced at Ishigami, who talked with Onodera, then Iino, who was happy about her participation, without saying anything. Nevertheless, as Kobachi participated, those guys howled like wolves. "Hey? Is Kobachi-san also joining?" "Ah, I will join too." Wait. Let me come." "You guys." The girls looked at those guys helplessly, and then some of the girls looked at Kobachi in jealousy. "Ozaragi-san is so popular." Onodera couldn't help but say this when she saw the guy's reaction. "Isn't it normal? Many have a crush on her," Ishigami said calmly since he was thinking of maximizing the benefits that came from being treated by his classmate and he didn't care much about Ozaragi's popularity since he knew who should he choose. "What about you?" Onodera looked at Ishigami curiously, yet inwardly, her heart said otherwise. Ishigami only smiled and said, "I don't have a crush on her." "Really?" "Yup." "Then, do you like someone?" Onodera felt her face burning when she asked this question. "No." Onodera felt like her world had turned grey until Ishigami looked at her with a gentle smile and said, "But lately, I have been curious about the feeling of liking someone." "Oh." Onodera was surprised, then asked nonchalantly, yet the smile on her lips was so obvious. "Why? It's a secret." Tell me." As the two talked, Iino watched them, wishing to say something, but she couldn't say anything. "They have been close to each other lately," Kobachi suddenly said. Iino became even more depressed. "They might even be gay." "What?" "No, nothing." Kobachi shook her head, thinking that she also started not to feel good. Yet, Ishigami, who was oblivious, didn't care about anything and just focused on having a good time at the karaoke, so the moment they arrived at the karaoke near their school, he didn't even hesitate when his classmates gave him a chance to sing first. "Are you sure?" Sure. "Sing first, Ishigami. Take the first blood." Watching the expectation in their eyes, Ishigami rolled their eyes and said, Okay. Let me take the first song." "Oh. Onodera, help me." Onodera was surprised, but she saw him come closer and ask, "Do you know this song?" "I know." "Shall we have a duet?" "Let's go." The two on the stand in front of everyone then started clapping their hands along with the rhythm of the music. Then, at the same time, they sang, "Daddy. Daddy. Do. I want everything about you. I want to be embraced by love and burn brightly." Their first karaoke started with a bang. Yet, for those who knew him, watching him, singing, and having fun with everyone, they thought that Ishigami had changed. Or did they just not know this side of him? However, as they watched Onodera and Ishigami, who appeared so close to each other, they felt the distance between them grow larger and larger. Chapter 17, Let's Sing a Song. As Ishigami and Onodera had their first song and had fun together, when they finished, it was the turn of the others to sing. Let's sing again later, Onodera said with a bright smile since she hadn't recovered from the previous fun of singing with him. Moreover, wasn't this guy's voice so good? What do you want to sing? Ishigami asked. No, wait. I want you to sing a song for me. While Onodera felt it was good to sing together, she also wanted him to sing a song for her. When she thought of such a scene, she couldn't help but feel her body so hot. My song isn't so cheap. Did you not remember who treated you yesterday? Okay, okay. Ishigami sighed and said, think what you want me to sing, I will get a drink first. Okay. As Ishigami said so, he took his glass and went out to get a drink. The guy who treated him was generous, and he told him that he could get anything he wanted, so he didn't hesitate. Still, watching the type of drinks that existed at the all-you-can-drink bar, Ishigami wondered what he should choose. Have you chosen Ishigami? Ishigami turned and saw Kobachi. Not yet. Do you want to get a soda, Ozaragi-san? He stood in front of the soda area, so he thought to move in case she wanted to get a soda. No, I am also thinking about what to get. After Kobachi said those words, she put her glass next to his and stood by his side, looking at various drinks before her, leaning forward slightly, mimicking his actions close by his side. Oh. Ishigami didn't say much and thought about what he would get. What will you get? Soda. No, I am thinking of getting lemon tea. While Ishigami said so, he put a lot of barley tea inside his lemon tea to dilute its taste after he tasted how sweet it was. You don't like it? No, it's too sweet. You are not good with sweets. I like it, but if it is too much, it isn't good. Ishigami then looked at Kobachi's choice strangely. You are going to get an iced coffee? Without sugar? Yeah, the bitter taste is strangely comforting. Kobachi watched his expression with a smile and asked, is it strange? No, if you like it, then it's fine, isn't it? Kobachi smiled and said, but it's my first time to know that you are good at singing, Ishigami. It seems I have a good talent in this area. You are not holding back, are you? How about you? Well, I am not that good. How about Iino? Do you think she can sing? Ishigami. Then, how about you sing with other girls? Do you think I am close other than with Iino? Girls' friendship is complicated. You are not wrong with that. Hearing Ishigami's words, Kobachi smiled. Considering how beautiful Kobachi was, most girls would avoid her since they were afraid of being compared. So why was Kobachi so close to Iino? If there was a reason for that, it was because the two of them were alone, and they just happened to be together, so they wouldn't be alone, as being alone was lonely. Do you want to sing? While knowing all of that, Ishigami didn't say anything, and this was known as attack. At the same time, this part of him made Kobachi keep her smile. Kobachi thought for a while as she put her finger on her chin and said, to be honest, I am not good at singing in front of many. Or rather, she wasn't comfortable standing in front of many now. But, can I request a song from you? Ishigami looked at Kobachi, who acted like a cute girl, begging him to sing for her. Can I say no? I opened the library for you before. Okay, okay. What do you want me to sing? Then, do you know this song? I know that, but it isn't a song that is sung by a single person. You can bring others with you. As they talked to each other, they arrived at their room, and very quickly, Onodera came to him and asked, Ishigami, can you sing this song for me? Kobachi. Still, Ishigami looked strangely at the song chosen by Onodera. You don't know this song? When Onodera asked this question, she couldn't help but glance at Kobachi, who walked away, which made her sigh in relief. I know. Then, there is no problem, right? Ishigami looked at the title of the song and wondered whether Onodera wanted him to confess indirectly through this song. On the other hand, Kobachi returned to her seat and sat next to Iino as if nothing had happened. Still, before Iino asked anything, she asked, Iino, are you going to sing? No. Iino wasn't confident to sing in front of everyone, and frankly, she didn't feel good in this festive mood, especially when she was unfamiliar with everyone. It was as if there was an invisible wall that separated her from the others. Though she had to say it was great to hear Ishigami's voice, she couldn't help but furrow her brows at how close he was to Onodera. Hey, Onodera, what kind of song did you make Ishigami sing? Aren't you too desperate? Shut up. I just want to hear, okay? There is no other meaning. Hearing those words, Iino and Kobachi looked at the screen curiously, watching the song title speechlessly. Kana Nishino, Suki. 2x. Yet, at Onodera's request, Ishigami sang faithfully. This might be a woman's song, but it didn't matter to him, whose singing skill was a level 3. I realized that I love you. I wonder if you'd laugh if I told you that. Obviously, I'm gazing at you. Because I really love your smile. When Ishigami sang that song, he appeared so gentle, facing Onodera, who requested this song. Fortunately, he didn't look at Onodera for so long, or else, some of them could only show a bitter smile. Only Kobachi glanced at Iino speechlessly since Iino recorded Ishigami's voice directly on her smartphone, but in the end, she also did the same. Nevertheless, after Onodera's request, Ishigami had fun with everyone and sang various songs with all of them, including Choo Choo Train, Exile, with many boys dancing together, making the situation even more festive, and many girls directly recorded the video and put it into their Insta. Even Iino and Kobachi, who didn't even sing, also had fun when everyone had fun. Strange, they thought. However, they knew if there was a reason why all of them could have fun, it was all due to Ishigami since this guy knew many songs and could sing them smoothly. Then, while it was a bit of a shame, the end came, but it was still enough for them to sing a single song. There is only enough for one song. Ishigami, you sing. Yet. Come sing again. It can be helped, but you guys sing with me. Ishigami then chose a song with which everyone was familiar. Are you guys familiar with this song? Oh. Then, let's sing. As the melody started to sound, Ishigami led all of them to sing Kin, Aiwa Katsu. There's nothing to worry about, there will surely come a day when your love reaches someone. No matter how hard it is, no matter how much you want to give up, don't ever stop believing. Unlike a romance or a fun song that they sang before, this time, the song that they sang was about a song that helped people to feel spirit after they were down. This was a song that was made to make people feel alive again and not give up no matter what. Even Kobachi and Iino, who didn't sing, started singing with everyone with unprecedented vigor. No matter how hard it is, no matter how much you want to give up. You've gotta believe that one day, love wins. You've gotta believe that one day, love wins. The conflict between all of them was nothing but a small thing compared to the universe. Nevertheless, there was no doubt that Ishigami's popularity reached its peak at this moment. On the other hand, Ishigami felt relaxed after he sang with all of his might without paying anything. Still, when he walked out from the karaoke, excusing himself since he had something to do before he went to the nearby ice store, enjoyed the sweetness of vanilla ice cream, and then got ready to go to the gym, he saw a girl being harassed by someone. Please stop it. No, listen to me. Come with me. I will make sure that you are happy. The girl appeared uncomfortable and wanted to dismiss the man's invitation, but the man appeared ignorant and even tried to hold her. If the girl didn't avoid the man, then she would be caught, but when she turned, her eyes happened to meet Ishigami. Ishigami took a deep breath and kicked away the man rudely and directly. The man was startled and quickly became angry. Hey, only what greeted him was Ishigami, who held his smartphone in a loud shout that attracted many. There is a pervert here. As Ishigami shouted, everyone turned their attention to Ishigami before they looked toward the man, causing him to panic and run away quickly. While the man wanted to remember Ishigami's face, Ishigami had already turned as he looked at the girl. Let's go. My classmates are nearby. Oh, okay. The girl quickly followed him and entered the crowd, well hidden from the man. Chapter 18, If Ishigami is Popular. Pervert. While this country might be touted as the safest country in the world, the number of perverts in this country was high, especially on the train, which was packed and full of people. Not everyone heard it often, but it was normal because the women who were molested were also troubled to report it since it was troublesome, and at the same time, it didn't feel good to be known as a victim of molestation. At the same time, there was also this train of thought of everyone who didn't want to trouble others, so those victims mostly kept what they encountered deep inside. You okay? Looking at the nervous girl, Ishigami asked. Yeah, I am fine. Thank you. If there was a reason why the girl easily trusted him, it was because he wore the same uniform. My classmates are there. You will be fine there. Thanks. The girl smiled softly after she saw many of Ishigami's classmates, then couldn't help but complain lightly. Usually, those people won't be so persistent. But it's great that nothing is happening to you. Yeah, thanks to you. The girl felt relief when she was saved by Ishigami. Now, what's your name? You are also from Shuchiin Academy, right? What grade? When her fear and nervousness disappeared, she quickly became energetic, as if what had happened before was just an annoying mosquito or fly that had passed by. Only before Ishigami said anything was their conversation interrupted by someone. Ishigami, where have you been? Ah, how could you buy an ice cream without me? As she watched the ice cream in Ishigami's hand, Onodera pouted, but then she realized Ishigami wasn't alone. Hey? Saame-senpai. Ah, Rei-chan. Ishigami looked at the beautiful girl on his side, who was being called Saame-senpai by Onodera. Her hair was pink with bangs parted 7:3 to the right side of her head, where the back portion was tied up to the back side with a black ribbon with hints of purple at the tips of her hair, light pink eyes, and a fairly large chest. She was beautiful, and Ishigami also understood why she was being harassed before, but well, her beautiful appearance wasn't an excuse for a man to do something like that, right? You know each other, Onodera. Oh, I know her. Onodera nodded, then asked, but why were you two together? Her eyes widened when she saw Ishigami holding the pink-haired girl's hand. When Ishigami wanted to explain, his hand was tightly grasped, as if she sought comfort, and at the same time, he also noticed Sabame's eyes appeared uncomfortable when Onodera asked such a question, so he didn't answer Onodera's question immediately and gathered his thought before he said, she needed my help before. If you know her, then can you help her? What's wrong, senpai? Onodera was surprised and also worried. Well, there was a little trouble earlier. Sabame showed an awkward expression and sighed in relief since Ishigami didn't say much. Still, you will go to the gym, right? I will take care of her here, Onodera quickly said. Okay. Ishigami then let go of Sabame's hand and said, then, I will go back first, but you should be careful. It's fine. If there are many of us, no one will bother us. Is that so? Ishigami nodded and decided to believe Onodera. Then, senpai, I will excuse myself. Sorry for troubling you. It's fine. You seem in need of help, after all. I did nothing special. Normal people will normally ignore me, though. Sabame said with a helpless smile. Well, those who you met weren't men, then. Ishigami shook his head, thinking that many men had started to lose their instinct as one in the modern era. Still, I will send you to everyone first before I go back. It's fine. You don't need to. We'll be fine, Onodera said. No, I will send you off. Listen to me, okay? Oh okay. While Onodera wasn't sure why Ishigami was a bit pushy, she didn't hate this part of him. Still, Sabame glanced at the two, then looked at Ishigami for a while with a thoughtful expression. Ishigami? What's wrong? Why did you go back? When Ishigami returned, everyone was surprised since all of them were about to part away. I forgot something from Onodera. I will go back now. Oh, okay. Be careful. When everything was okay, Ishigami walked away since their safety was guaranteed now. Iino and Kobachi, who were about to go back, also looked in Ishigami's direction and then noticed Sabame, who stood next to Onodera. Hey? Sabame-senpai, what are you doing here? When many noticed Sabame, all of them became excited, especially the guys, as if they had become male peacocks who wanted to show their beautiful tails. Haha. Sabame could only show a polite smile and laugh. While this might seem like an act, no one could find out since she often did this. You guys, stop it. Stop being desperate. Don't always react like this when you see a beautiful girl. The girls were all annoyed, then looked at Ishigami, who left without saying much in a different light. Kobachi stared at Ishigami's back for a while until she heard Iino's voice. What's wrong, Koba-chan? No, Nothing. Kobachi shook her head and said, let's go back. Yet. Iino nodded, then said, but karaoke isn't that bad. Yes. If only Ishigami was there, if it was only others, then they wouldn't come no matter what. However, the two never said those words at the end and just quietly went home. Onodera noticed a strangeness between Ishigami and Saame, especially when Ishigami kept lying one after another. So, what was happening, senpai? As Onodera accompanied Saame, she couldn't help but ask this question. Saame smiled again and said, he helped me from a pervert. Ah, are you okay? Onodera was startled and asked worriedly. I am fine. It was all thanks to him. If Ishigami wasn't there, Saame wasn't sure what was happening. Yes, he is reliable. Onodera nodded and smiled softly. Saame looked at Onodera's reaction and asked with curiosity and awkwardness since she had held Ishigami's hand so tightly previously, is he, your boyfriend? Be boyfriend? Onodera was startled and blushed. No, no. Our relationship isn't that way. I see. Saame nodded and sighed in relief inwardly. Regardless, usually, the two would be awkward to talk about after this situation, but with her outgoing personality, it was easy for her to break the silence. So, what did you do with your classmates before? Ah, we had a blast at karaoke before. As Onodera told what she did with her classmates, Saame became a good listener, but when Ishigami was mentioned, she couldn't help but ask more questions. On the other hand, Ishigami, who had just gone home after going to the gym, enjoyed the dinner cooked by his mother. He might have seen that his phone vibrated before, but when he saw the caller, he decided to ignore it since he knew he would face a troublesome problem. While he knew that he owed a lot of things to this person, to answer her problem, he had to prepare his mind, or else, he was afraid that he couldn't give an answer that she would be satisfied with. Watching Ishigami, who became more cheerful, naturally made Ishigami's mama happy, and she had to say that having someone enjoy her food was a great thing. What do you want to eat tomorrow? Dinner. Yes, dinner, but what about breakfast? Well, just a normal miso soup and grilled fish is good enough. That's good. The most important thing for breakfast is simple and easy. Mom is also quite lazy to cook in the morning. Ishigami. What about dinner? What about oyakudon? Oyakudon? Okay. Ishigami's mama also looked at her husband and asked, are you okay with that too, dear? Sure. Ishigami's papa nodded, then asked, by the way, how is the gym? Oh, it was great. As the three talked about what had happened during their days, Ishigami then decided to study before going to rest, but before that, he had to answer the call that he had received for a while. Good evening, boss. You are late. I have called you so many times. Hearing Kaguya's complaint, Ishigami was helpless. Sorry, boss. I was taking a bath before. Do you want me to answer your phone in the bathroom? It feels a bit weird when you say that. Right. If the situation was reversed, the boy would be happy when the girl answered his call when the girl took a bath, but if the situation was reversed, then the girl might feel conflicted. If the girl had a good impression of the boy, then she couldn't help but imagine the naked body of the boy when he took a bath. Senpai. Yet, Ishigami was oblivious to his senior's dirty thoughts. Cough. Cough. Are you okay, senpai? I am fine. You don't have to worry. Kaguya took a deep breath to calm herself. By the way, do you have something to discuss with me, senpai? Are you busy now? I am just reviewing some lessons, but I always have time to help you anytime, boss. Stop calling me boss. Kaguya was speechless. Then, senpai, what's wrong? Ishigami asked, then said, though, I have to say, you shouldn't call me that much. You have Hayasaka senpai with you, right? You should discuss your love problem with her. Naturally, he knew that Hayasaka was Kaguya's servant, especially when Kaguya didn't hide it, and he even told him that Hayasaka was her servant the day before. As for him being a big mouth and telling everyone about their relationship, if Ishigami didn't want to go to the Bering Sea to catch crabs, then he could only shut his mouth. No, she doesn't have any experience or even knowledge of this area. Talking with her is useless, Kaguya said as if it was the most natural thing. Hayasaka. Somehow, Ishigami could imagine Hayasaka's expression at this moment if she had heard Kaguya's words. I think you should raise her salary now. Hearing those words from Ishigami, Hayasaka couldn't help but nod in agreement. However, really, if you keep calling me, then your loved one might misunderstand you, you know. Ishigami knew how low Shirogana's self-esteem was, and naturally, he didn't want to hurt him by talking with Kaguya secretly. Moreover, if she hadn't called him, then he wouldn't have been bothered by Kaguya being called so suddenly and answered a troublesome problem, which was great, right? Still, as he answered her call, and she helped him, he would help her until she found a solution to her problem. Yet, he realized Kaguya's problem was bigger than he imagined. With a voice filled with doubt and hesitation, Kaguya asked, Ishigami-kun, do you think that I love Kaiku? Ishigami. Comment. 42 Comment. Vote. Chapter 19, Difficult Night. Ishigami fell into silence, and he panicked for a moment. Why did this happen? Why did Kaguya start to doubt her love? Ah, was it because of him? Ishigami wondered what he did to make Kaguya become like this, but he knew he shouldn't jump to a conclusion. Yes, he might have experience in this area, but that didn't mean he was omnipotent and he could read the minds of others. Instead of guessing why Kaguya felt like this, Ishigami knew he should ask her directly. I see. His voice was gentle, and he neither agreed nor denied her. Can I ask the reason, senpai? Hearing his question, Kaguya also didn't hesitate to tell him about her concern, especially when she called him for this reason. I thought that when you prepared that date for us, I thought my heart would be jumping excitedly, yet somehow I feel like I don't have as much excitement as I imagined when I thought Kaiku and I would go on a date together. Kaguya thought that the happiness that came from going on a date with Shirogane would be indescribable, yet why was her excitement not as strong as she thought it would be? Ishigami didn't immediately answer Kaguya but thought for a while, wondering why she felt this way. However, if he had to make a reason, even if he didn't want to, he knew it was all because of him. Ah, it's because of me, hey. Kaguya came from the richest family in this country, and naturally, many would envy her. But would her life be so easy even if she was born into that family? Ishigami didn't think so since he could imagine that Kaguya's life was full of betrayal, exploitation, lies, fear, and many other negative thoughts, as everyone wished to use her to gain wealth. Wealth is a crazy thing. Many people could do anything for wealth, even if they hurt others. Living in such a life, Kaguya could trust hardly anyone, but when Ishigami suddenly changed, her life also changed. Unlike others, he was fun, and he even dared to make fun of her. He might appear respectful, yet he was also rude, but he used to joke to ease up her feelings, making her smile and laugh. It was probably the first time Kaguya had such a relationship, especially when all the people she met would either please or distance themselves from her. It was also the same case as Shirogane often put her on a pedestal, thinking she was far, far better than anyone. Yet, Ishigami was different, and it was her first time to know that someone like this existed, so she couldn't help but depend on him. Hearing her words, Ishigami sighed, feeling helpless by Kaguya's change. If it was the previous Kaguya, could she even communicate like this with him? Probably, I can. Ishigami felt that even if there was no connection between him and Kaguya, or Kaguya was still her cold self like before, he felt that he could befriend her. As for the date, he didn't have that plan at all since he wasn't a bastard who would steal the heart of the girl Shirogane loved. More importantly, it wasn't like Kaguya's love for Shirogane had disappeared. In his mind, she was just in a period of doubt, and as long as this doubt was cleared up, he knew that Kaguya's feelings toward Shirogane would remain the same. If there was a problem, he was afraid that if he and Kaguya continued to communicate with each other, then the strange plot of the unhealthy book might appear between him and Kaguya. Then, you don't want to go on this date? No, I don't mind, but I just feel a bit strange that I don't feel as excited as I thought to be. If there was a reason why Kaguya wasn't as excited as she thought to be, it was because she got everything so easily. In the original story, she had no help, so she used any methods to get Shirogane to go on a date with her. However, with Ishigami's help, everything was received easily, so the sense of achievement that she had wasn't as great as before. Is that so? I don't think you should think about this too much, but you don't hate to go on a date with Kaiku, right? Ah, no, I am fine with it. Then, you can use this dating practice to confirm your feelings, whether you like him or not, whatever your answer may be, let me be your help, like how you helped me, senpai. Nevertheless, even if nothing happened, Ishigami felt it was fine since if they couldn't gain happiness by dating, then there was no need to force them, but he had to say it was a bit too a shame, considering how he knew the original story. Yet, as a bystander, someone who could only support from the side, this was something he only could do since the ones who experienced all of those things weren't him, but them, so while he gave them advice, in the end, they were the one who made their decisions and no matter what their decisions, he would support them. Ishigami. Kaguya wanted to cry at this moment, but then she asked, "Say, Ishigami, can I ask you something?" "Sure." What do you think Kaiku's feelings toward me?" "What do you think?" "I don't know. It's just. I wonder whether he even likes me." When Kaguya thought of Shirogana's lack of effort to make the relationship between the two, she couldn't help but feel down. "Really? I think it is the opposite." "The opposite?" "I think he thinks of you preciously." Ishigami knew well how Shirogane felt toward Kaguya, so there was no need for him to remain ambiguous about this matter. "And because he thinks of you preciously, he is being careful around you, so you don't hate him and treasure you dearly." Only, in the end, Shirogane had to be the one who made the last move, or else Kaguya's feelings wouldn't be so strong. You sure could say something embarrassing. Whether it was Kaguya, who heard his voice right on her phone, or Hayasaka, who was just by Kaguya's side, felt their faces were hot by Ishigami's words. "I am just telling the truth, okay? Stop saying things like that. You will make me embarrassed, too." Frankly, Ishigami also knew that those sappy words were hardly used in reality, or rather, was there someone who used those words in reality? Phew, it's fine, isn't it? I am the only one who knows about it. What about Hayasaka-senpai? It's fine. You hold her secret too, so if she dares to say something, you can threaten her. Ishigami and Hayasaka. I won't do that, okay? Ishigami sighed helplessly, wondering whether Kaguya thought of him as a young man who would do something naughty to a charming girl after he held her weakness. "So, you are fine now?" "Yeah, thanks." Kaguya felt better after she talked with Ishigami, and she was glad that he came to her and asked for her help. If not, then would they be able to talk like this? "By the way, I heard that you went to karaoke with your classmates today." "Hey? How did you know?" Ishigami was confused since he knew that Kaguya's phone was a last-decade flip phone that could only be used to send a text and call. "Hayasaka showed me a story from an Insta." "I am right. It's an Instagram." Hayasaka corrected her mistress' mistake. "Ah, that one." Kaguya smiled and said, "You are good at singing. Don't praise me like that. You will make me embarrassed, senpai." "But how was karaoke? Was it fun?" "It is fun. Should we go with all the members of the student council next time?" "That seems interesting." As Kaguya had been living as a princess of the Shinomiya family for so long, she longed for an ordinary life, something mundane that everyone usually easily got, but for her, it was something unattainable, so she couldn't help but smile when she heard his invitation. Nevertheless, their conversation continued until Kaguya asked about Chika. "How was Fujiwara-san? Did she cause you trouble?" Ishigami fell in silence for a while, wondering how to handle this situation. Should he say that he would go on a date with Chika on the weekend? "Ishigami, what's wrong? Did she cause you so much trouble?" As Ishigami didn't answer her question, Kaguya wondered whether Chika gave him so much trouble. "It wasn't much of a problem, you don't have to worry. You don't need to act cool as if nothing is happening." Kaguya sighed and said, "I know how troublesome that silly girl is." It was fortunate that Ishigami was there. If he wasn't around, then she was sure that Chika would do something that would make the situation even more chaotic. "It's fine. She was just being herself, and she wasn't a bad person." "You are right at that. Chika might be silly and even an idiot, but there was no doubt that she was a good girl." Still, Ishigami didn't intend to talk with Kaguya about his date with Chika since, he didn't think that Kaguya could give useful input, and he also felt that she would cause him more trouble. At this moment, his goal was to become the best student in his grade, and by then, he could get a reward from his parents. "I will hang up the call first." "Okay. Don't forget to study. I will check on you tomorrow." "Good night, senpai." Good night, Ishigami." As Kaguya smiled, thinking about Ishigami's painful expression, she felt relaxed, feeling that all the doubts in her heart had disappeared. It's great to have someone to talk to, she thought. Kaguya lay on her bed, ignoring Hayasaka, who had been at her side all the time and stared at her phone, watching the time she spent having a conversation with Ishigami, which made her speechless, as she felt she talked with her junior more than Shirogane. Yet, as she felt conflicted, she was notified that someone had called her. Ah, finally, it is connected. Kaguya raised her brows, then accepted the call. Fujiwara-san. Kaguya-san, can I discuss something with you? What's wrong? Well. Chika appeared hesitant, but then she made up her mind and said shyly, I will go on a date with Ishigami on the weekend. What do you think I should do? She might be Detective Chika in front of Ishigami, but in front of her best friend, she is just an ordinary girl without any experience in love. Only Kaguya and Hayasaka fell in silence. Taking a deep breath, Kaguya thought about calling Ishigami again tonight. It will be a bloodbath. Still, to be honest, do you ship his relationship with Kaguya? Usually, I would ask that question, but for this one, I will just leave it to the flow. Please leave everything to me. Whether or not he will be with Kaguya, don't blame me, okay? This story will be different since Ishigami, my boy, won't be a sad boy anymore. Chapter 20, Let's dress up, okay? While Kaguya wanted to call Ishigami immediately, her call couldn't be connected since he was on a call with someone else. So, you helped her to send her home? Yup. Onodera nodded, telling Ishigami after he left. She told him how she helped Saame to the taxi area so Saame could go back safely. Naturally, she wasn't alone, as Ishigami told her to go along with everyone, especially when she learned from Saame that a pervert had persistently tried to get her. Are you fine? Geez, you are worrying too much. Unlike Saame-senpai, there is hardly anyone who will try to chase me like that. Onodera told the truth. She was okay and quite good looking but not as exceptional as Saame. Frankly, for perverts, their target had always been an above-average girl, and they usually tried to avoid those who were beautiful since they would feel strangely inferior. However, sometimes, there had always been an exception, and no one could tell what was on the heads of the perverts, so there was no doubt that it was better to be careful than sorry. Really? I think you are cute, though. You are always like that. I am not that cute, though. You are. I think you are, so I am worried about you. Onodera felt her face was so hot that she couldn't talk since she was so embarrassed, yet she was happy. Ishigami didn't feel surprised by Onodera's doubt since a woman was such an existence. Even though they weren't that fat or they were beautiful, they had always been worrying about a certain thing, which made them a bundle of trouble. By the way, have you planned what you want to buy later? I plan to get shoes and pants. Oh, and a simple t-shirt, too. The two talked to each other like it was the most natural thing. Their conversation was quite random, and it jumped from one topic to another until Ishigami decided to finish talking, or else he was afraid that Onodera wouldn't stop talking to him. Good night. Good night, Ishigami. Have a nice dream. You too, Onodera-san. As Ishigami was about to hang up the call, Onodera suddenly stopped him. Wait. What's wrong? Onodera was quite embarrassed, but after she took a deep breath, she called his name softly, you. Ishigami. Can I call you by your first name? Hearing her nervous question, Ishigami took a deep breath and said, Rei. Can I call you that, too? Call that me. Then, you can call me you. Okay, good night, you. Good night, Rei. As Ishigami hung up the call, he thought that he should be able to get Rei soon. Usually, getting to know each other and starting their decision to date would take 2 or 3 months. Some might say it was too long, but it was like a tough meat that became soft after being boiled for so long. A relationship would be better if one took the time to learn about their partner before they made their decision. Naturally, there had always been an exception, and it wasn't weird for one to make a relationship in just a day or even a week. Still, instant happiness would only result in a quick disappointment. Everything in life needed a process, and love was also included. As he thought so, he just wanted to have a quick girlfriend since he wanted to test his system. Nevertheless, when he thought that he could continue his study, someone called him again. Who is it? While hesitating, Ishigami looked at his phone and then sighed in relief since it wasn't Kaguya. He was confused, wondering why this person suddenly called him in the middle of the night. Kaiku. Ah, sorry for bothering you at night, Ishigami. No problem. Ishigami didn't have much pressure when he faced Shirogane, especially when they were all males, so they could talk freely. What's wrong, Kaiku? Do you need my help with the work of the student council or something? Ah, no. Shirogane's voice seemed hesitant and also embarrassed. You know. I am going with Shinomiya on the weekend, right? That's right. So. I just want to ask, if you are going on a date, what kind of clothes will you wear? Ishigami fell silent and then asked, are you going on the weekend in a uniform, Kaiku? Frankly, he felt weird since he had asked Shirogane for advice, yet in the end, Shirogane had asked him for advice. Well, he didn't mind, though. No, no. As expected, Shirogane had common sense. I will wear my casual clothes, but then I wonder what you will wear when you are going on a date. You know, you want to impress your loved one, right? The first impression is important, right? How can you give a good first impression? Naturally, through their appearance, right? Yet, there was no doubt that Shirogane was like a girl who wasn't sure what to wear during her first date. Still, Ishigami didn't think that it was weird since, whether it was a man or a woman, the two of them often had similar concerns about going on a date. Kaiku, can we switch to a video call? And, can you let me see how you will dress? Okay. Hearing Ishigami's questions, somehow, Shirogane became excited and nodded. Wait a moment. I will show you what I will wear for the weekend date practice. Naturally, it is for your reference, and if you think it is good, you can copy me. Okay. Ishigami didn't have much of an expectation, though, and as expected. What do you think? After changing his sleeping outfit into his battle gear for the date on the weekend, Shirogane asked confidently in front of Ishigami. Yet, Ishigami couldn't say anything and stared silently at Shirogane's current dress-up. Shirogane's attire was like that of a middle school student in a weird, edgy, auto-translated English and skull graphic long-sleeve t-shirt. Moreover, his pants weren't fit, which made him appear sloppy. He also wore sunglasses, a hair clip on his bangs, and a backpack like he was going on a field trip. I will also put wax on my hair, and by the way, look at my pants. Shirogane rolled his pants and then showed the hidden patterns inside. Look, there is a dragon pattern here. Ishigami couldn't say anything and thought that Shirogane's fate would be over if Shirogane came out on the weekend with such clothes. No, no. Probably, Shinomiya-senpai will think of him as cute, right? However, Ishigami then shook his head inwardly, thinking that the other people would think of Shirogane as lame. No, I can't let him go out like this. As the previous Ishigami's savior, it was possible for him to let Shirogane go on a date with such clothes. Nevertheless, fortunately, it wasn't him who only thought that way. What the hell are you wearing? Suddenly, a beautiful girl with a similar feature to Shirogane kicked him from the waist, but with long hair and white hair. It hurts. What are you doing, Kay? It's you who is what's wrong. What the hell is wrong with those lame clothes? Are you middle school students? Kay bombarded Shirogane with merciless words as Ishigami listened silently. Moreover, why did you suddenly change into such clothes in the middle of the night? Kay panted as she asked all of those questions. Rubbing his waist painfully, Shirogane said, I am just giving advice to my junior. Advice? Junior? What do you mean? Kay was confused. Ishigami, you think my clothes are good, right? Shirogane then looked at his phone, which was still connected to the video call from Ishigami. Ishigami noticed Kay's gaze on him and politely greeted Shirogane's little sister. Hello. Kay's face quickly turned bright red, realizing what kind of mistakes she had made. If there had been no outsider, it would have been fine for her to treat her brother this way, but Ishigami saw everything. Her image. Kay was so embarrassed that she wanted to die, and naturally, her reaction was to run away, but Ishigami quickly stopped him. Wait. Wait. Kaiku's Imuto, wait a moment. Kaiku is going on a date this weekend. Please help him. Imuto is a little sister in Japanese. As expected, hearing Ishigami's words, Kay stopped and then looked at Ishigami before turning her gaze to her older brother. You are going on a date. No, no. Shirogane was embarrassed and even blushed. I am going to help my junior on his dating plan. Well, it's like this. Ishigami also came to help, telling Kei what his brother was about to do. I see. Nevertheless, Kei thought that Ishigami had chosen the wrong person for advice. Still, she was curious about who her brother would go to in this dating practice. It's Shinomiya senpai. Shinomiya Kaguya. Hey? Really? That Shinomiya senpai? Kei was dumbfounded before her eyes were filled with excitement. Yes. Ishigami nodded, and without even saying anything, Kei understood his plan. Ah, I see. Inwardly, she thought her brother had a good junior. Glancing at her older brother, who appeared oblivious, she gritted her teeth, thinking that this guy was really a handful. Kei, you are too rude. Shirogane was helpless at his little sister and then looked at Ishigami. Ishigami, if you are going on a date, what will you wear? I will wear normal clothes. How are your normal clothes? After all, Ishigami's normal was different from Shirogane's normal. Well, wait a moment. I will change now. Okay. As Shirogane nodded, Kei quickly looked away with a blush, but fortunately, Ishigami still knew common sense, so he didn't put his smartphone in the direction where he changed his clothes since he wasn't an exhibitionist. I will probably wear something like this. Appearing in front of Shirogane's siblings once again, Ishigami had changed into his dating clothes. Nevertheless, it was so simple that it only consisted of a white t-shirt and blue jeans. Depending on the situation, I will either add a hoodie, jacket, or just a cardigan. It was so simple, yet even Shirogane could tell that Ishigami dressed better, and at the same time, he could even see his little sister staring at him as if saying, "You should dress like this." I see. So this is how the young one dressed now. Suddenly, an old man with a similar feature to Shirogane also appeared. Dad. 2x. Shirogane and Kei were startled. What are you doing here? 2x. You have been so loud, so of course, I heard it. Shirogane Papa said calmly, then looked at Ishigami. Nice to meet you, Ishigami-kun. I am Miyuki's and Kei's father. You can call me Shirogane Papa. Hello, uncle. Ishigami greeted Shirogane Papa helplessly since he didn't expect that he would face Shirogane Papa. Hello, Ishigami-kun. I hope that my son isn't troubling you. No, I am the one who is troubling, Kaiku. Enough, Dad. Hurry up and get out. While Ishigami didn't appear to mind, Shirogane felt embarrassed when his father suddenly appeared. Wait a moment, I still need to ask a question about the young, trendy fashion. Shirogane Papa didn't move away and asked, by the way, just for information, what about your shoes? Will you wear a watch, too? Shirogane Papa asked Ishigami. Somehow, Ishigami became a fashion advisor, telling which brands a man should buy. Is that okay? Aren't they cheap brands? Shirogane Papa couldn't help but ask since all the brands that Ishigami said were cheap brands. Unlike a female, we men aren't fussy. As long as we appear good, isn't that enough? But then, don't just buy cheap things, and sometimes it is better to splurge for a bit since compared to a cheap thing, the good and reliable brand will last longer. Fortunately, this world wasn't that much different from his previous love, so whether it was brands, companies, or many others, they were all almost the same. Still, he also knew the Shirogane family's financial situation, so he didn't give much detail since he knew how expensive it was when people decided to plunge themselves into the world of fashion. However, considering the personalities of the members of the Shirogane family, Ishigami didn't think that they would take out loans or get credit to buy clothes. At the same time, he also told them how the size of the clothes had to fit and gave them many other tips. Sorry for bothering you, Ishigami. Nevertheless, with all of that, everything was as good as ever. Ishigami also showed them how he could appear fashionable and handsome even with those cheap yet reliable brands. It's fine. I will hang up the call now, Kaiku. Okay. Shirogane nodded, then shyly said, also, thank you. No problem. Ishigami smiled, then put down his smartphone. At the same time, he saw his phone was called again, but when he saw the one who called him, he decided to pretend that he hadn't seen anything and went to sleep. On the other hand, Kei looked at her older brother and asked curiously, is Ishigami-senpai your junior, Anaki? Yet. Shirogane nodded. I rely on him a lot. Yes, if there wasn't Ishigami, he knew that he would be overwhelmed by the student council's work. I see. Kei murmured, but Shirogane Papa looked at his daughter in shock and then felt a sense of crisis. No way, right? Still, Ishigami, who had woken up in the morning, felt refreshed and nice, especially since he also had finished his workout and eaten a good breakfast. However, when he came to the school and was about to change his shoes, someone suddenly closed both of his eyes. Thinking about the call that he ignored last night, he felt tense, but when he felt the too large softness on his back, he sighed in relief since he knew it was impossible for that person to be so large and to have softness. Try to guess who I am. Dash. Who likes Kei Shirogane?